Chapter 317. In the westernmost part of the southern marsh state, there was a cliff that was hundreds of meters tall. Due to the humid climate of the southern marsh state, there were dense vines growing on the cliff. With these vines, some of the stronger mortal warriors could also climb up the cliff using these vines. At this moment, two immortal cultivators were standing in the air more than 50 zhang away from the cliff. Even Lu Kuan, who had the powerful thunderous explosion steps, could only fly in the air and could not stay in the air. This meant that these two cultivators were clearly core formation cultivators. One of them was a cold-faced man wearing a white robe. He had a serious expression as he carefully looked at the cliff in front of him. He said, "I'll have to trouble fellow Taoist you to lead the way this time." The traces of battle could be an important clue. The other core formation cultivator was an old man with white hair and beard. He said, "Fellow Taoist Wang, you don't have to thank me. Even if you didn't ask, I would have come out to investigate. After all, my disciple with great potential might have met with misfortune." After the core formation old man finished speaking, he carefully looked at the cliff in front of him. His expression was extremely shocked as he muttered, "This kind of attack is not likely to be done by a foundation establishment cultivator. And for existences below the core formation stage, even the strongest level 4 demonic beast, the sea bear, would not be able to create such a deep hole." In front of the two core formation cultivators, on the cliff that was more than 500 meters tall, there was a huge hole with a radius of more than 20 meters. It looked as if a giant hammer had smashed into the cliff. There was also a lot of dark red blood in the depths of the hole. The cliff had been at the border of the southern marsh state for God knows how many years. Even the humid wind couldn't soften the cliff here after countless years of effort. Even with such a big hammer, it would require an astonishing amount of strength to create such a hole. Fellow Taoist you're wrong. The sea bear can't create such an effect. Those demonic beasts that only have brute strength would not be able to mix in their attacks with lightning-type spells. The core formation old man's expression changed. He carefully scanned the area with his divine sense. With his powerful divine sense of the early core formation stage, he finally found a trace of lightning energy on a blood-red rock in the depths of the hole. It really is a lightning-type spell. However, a look of shock and anger appeared on the old man's face. He waved his hand and took out the blood-red stone. Then, he took out a white spell plate. His hand shone brightly as a small arrow appeared on the spell plate and pointed at the stone. "This blood, it's my third disciple." The core formation old man quickly took out a jade bottle and muttered an incantation. With a flash of light, the strand of lightning energy within the stone was sucked into the jade bottle. "They actually dared to kill my disciple outside the market that I was guarding. I must capture the culprit." When the cold-faced man saw this hole, he thought of the giant hole outside Nanfo Market. Although the power was different, it was very similar. It was very likely that it was done by the same person. He said, "Fellow Taoist the cultivator who killed your disciple is very likely the person I'm looking for." Could it be that those two killed my disciple? The cold-faced man shook his head and said, "The person behind those two is the one I've been tracking. I was investigating the theft of my family's 10,000 treasures building in the eastern Galloping province. Those two are just a clue. Later, I received news in the southeast market that those two appeared there. That's why I chased after them. When I came to the southern marsh region and investigated some of the markets, I discovered something strange." At this point, the cold-faced man revealed a somewhat thought-provoking expression. The core formation old man couldn't help but ask, what did fellow Taoists find? Every time these two youths are in the market, they would inadvertently reveal their shocking wealth. Moreover, they have a level 2 demon monkey following them. Every time, they would attract some greedy foundation establishment cultivators to tail them. But later, those foundation establishment cultivators who followed them seemed to have evaporated from the world and never appeared again. The core formation old man came to a realization. This kind of trick was very clear to cultivators like him who had lived for hundreds of years. Those two young men were hooks that lured cultivators to their door. Then, they would be killed by someone stronger. Then, the old man glanced at the cold-faced man who was studying the deep pit. Thinking of the other party's identity in the 10,000 treasures building, he revealed a smile and said, I must avenge my disciple. I must track this strange cultivator to the end. But what I'm curious about is what kind of treasure the 10,000 treasures building lost that actually made fellow Taoist Huang personally investigate. I'm afraid the value of this treasure is above magic treasures. The cold-faced man secretly cursed in his heart for being cunning. This old man's revenge for his disciple was fake. Checking the treasures his 10,000 treasures building lost was the real reason. His expression didn't change as he said, it's just some scattered materials. But together, the value is no less than 200,000 spirit stones. I just happened to come out to relax recently, so I accepted this matter. The old man nodded with an expression of understanding, but what he was thinking in his heart was unknown. The cold-faced man said, the person we're facing should be a foundation establishment core disciple of a large sect. If he's a core formation cultivator, he wouldn't be so bored as to kill a foundation establishment cultivator like this. The core formation old man nodded and took out the jade bottle. I observed carefully just now. This lightning power is not at the core formation level. Either this foundation establishment cultivator has a lightning attribute talisman, or he's a Rellingan cultivator. The cold-faced man unconsciously frowned and said, it seems that the two of us need to join forces to catch up to him in time. Rellingan Foundation establishment cultivators are not simple. I feel that this person's strength has already reached the peak of the foundation establishment stage. Moreover, his magic power and divine sense are far beyond ordinary cultivators. It's very likely that he has a pseudo-magic treasure. Otherwise, it's impossible to have such power. The core formation old man said disdainfully, a foundation establishment cultivator is just a foundation establishment cultivator. Even if the core disciples of the top 10 sects have a pseudo-magic treasure, they can't fight against a core formation cultivator. After he finished speaking, he took out the jade bottle and began to release a tracking spell. The cold-faced man silently watched the old man cast the spell and muttered in his heart, we can't let this old man know about the demon token. Otherwise, he'll definitely snatch it. After all, if the demon token is used well, it's very likely that a sect or family will have another core formation cultivator. This trace of lightning power is too little. The tracking spell can only last for half a day. Fellow Huang, let's combine our escape lights. This way, we can catch up to them quickly. Chapter 3:18. Lu Kuan closed his eyes and stood on top of the flying boat. He was using his mana to heal the injuries on his body. He slowly opened his eyes and muttered to himself, that guy's strength is not simple. Not only are his magic items powerful, his late-stage mana is also quite pure. Fortunately, my mana is more profound and the numbing effect of the lightning is stronger. That's why I was able to use that combo and completely seize the rhythm of the battle and kill my opponent. With the spirit controlling array on my limbs, I have almost nothing to worry about when I attack. I can completely take on the weaker attacks head-on. Although the final impact of the combo damaged my body, the spirit controlling array on the inner layer of my fascia is still intact. Lu Kuan looked at his limbs and revealed a satisfied expression. Ji. Xiao Jin, who was controlling the spiritual shuttle in front, suddenly screamed. His expression was extremely flustered. Lu Kuan's expression changed greatly after hearing this. What? You're saying there are core formation cultivators chasing after us? Ji, there are still two of them. They're already more than 20 miles away. Huang Xiaoyun and Pan Yin, who were in the spiritual shuttle, were also panicking. They recalled that in the land of death, just a single attack from a core formation cultivator required a few foundation establishment stage uncles to join forces and barely block it. Now that there are two core formation cultivators, wouldn't they have no power to resist? Lu Kuan quickly calmed down. He had been chased by core formation cultivators more than once. Unfortunately, the silver dragon flying boat was a special magic item. With his current mana, he had no way to repair it. He could not rely on speed to escape. And now, including Xiao Jin, there were only two foundation establishment stage cultivators. If two core formation stage cultivators caught up to them, they would die without a doubt. Then, he revealed a reminiscing expression and said, before that guy died, he said that his master would avenge him. Could it be the one at the back? I have an idea. Lu Kuan immediately retracted all the mana fluctuations in his body. At the same time, he activated the concealing spiritual root's divine ability and hid all the power of his divine sense in the depths of his sea of consciousness. All the aura disappeared completely. He recalled the situation when he was tracked by a core formation cultivator. Generally speaking, an early-stage core formation cultivator's divine sense could only cover a range of about 10 kilometers. It was very likely that they used some sort of medium to determine his direction. These mediums were nothing more than mana or divine sense. So Lu Kuan kept them away and asked, Xiao Jin, sense where they are now. Xiao Jin's ears twitched slightly, and she let out a few surprised cries. Lu Kuan's expression relaxed, and he said to Xiao Jin, as expected, we can't track them. Xiao Jin, fly in another direction. This is the largest state of Chu, Shiyuan state. In the next period of time, to be on the safe side, we will not go to the market, but take the route with fewer immortal cultivators. We will decide what to do after we have covered a quarter of the West Yuan County. That's right. I remember that area on the map belongs to one of the 10 great sects, the Heavenly Talisman sect. Let's go there. Squeak, squeak. Xiao Jin sensed that the core formation cultivator behind them had stopped. She controlled the spirit shuttle and flew towards an area with fewer immortal cultivators. About 20 kilometers behind Lu Kuan's flying boat, 2 immortal cultivators were standing in the air. The cold-faced man asked doubtfully, Fellow Taoist you, why did you stop? The old core formation cultivator surnamed you had an unsightly expression. He closed his eyes and sensed for a while, and then swept his divine sense over an area of about 10 kilometers. Impossible. My tracking technique can't have lost its effect so quickly. Why can't I sense that guy's mana? Moreover, there are no suspicious people within the range of my divine sense. Hearing this, the cold-faced man's expression became a bit unnatural. Like the old man, he also released his divine sense. After a short while, he shook his head and said, I've also checked. There really aren't any Foundation establishment cultivators nearby. There are only scattered chi condensation cultivators. That's strange. Facing a Foundation establishment cultivator, my secret technique actually lost its effect. The cold-faced man thought for a while and said, looking at the direction he was flying, he was heading towards the central area of the West Yuan state. There are 4 powerful sects there, and they're all ranked among the 10 great sections. If this person is a core disciple of the 10 great sects, maybe he really knows some kind of secret technique to hide his mana. I'm afraid we can't catch up. The old man's eyes were a little unwilling. However, he secretly glanced at the cold-faced man and found that he didn't show an anxious expression. His heart moved, and he asked intentionally or unintentionally, I wonder what fellow Taoist Huang plans to do next. The cold-faced man showed a bit of helplessness and said, the clue ends here. However, there is a market square ahead. There is a shop of our 10,000 treasures tower. I want to go there and send a message to my family through a miniature array. The core formation old man's eyes turned and said, it just so happens that I also want to go to the market square over there. The cold-faced man showed a bit of doubt and said, fellow Taoist, is it okay to leave your sect's market square for such a long time? The old man said with a fake smile, before I came out, I told my disciple that it's okay. It seems that I have to go with fellow Taoist. Fellow Taoist, you don't mind, right? The cold-faced man cursed in his heart. However, the sect that this core formation old man belonged to was not weak. Like their family, it also had a nascent soul cultivator overseeing it. He couldn't easily offend it and could only nod in agreement. Heavenly Talisman sect, Scorching Sun sect, Star Moon Pavilion, and Dao Yi School. This West Yuan state is known as the largest state in the Chu state, and there are actually 4 of the 10 great sections. Lu Kuan carefully looked at the information about the sects in the West Yuan state in his hand and murmured. Among these 4 sects, the Daoi sect is ranked first among the 10 great sections. They have more than 10 nascent soul elders and a late-stage nascent soul cultivator. Their strength is really terrifying. They're even stronger than the Shang Qing sect back then. The Scorching Sun sect is ranked 3rd. They have 7 nascent soul cultivators and no late-stage cultivators. The Star Moon Pavilion is ranked 8th among the 10 great sections. They have 3 nascent soul elders. As for the Heavenly Talisman sect, it is ranked last among the 10 great sections. They have 2 nascent soul elders. In addition to these 4 sects, there are many second-level sects that are similar to the Red Refining sect. They have a nascent soul cultivator overseeing them. Lu Kuan side. There are so many cultivation sects in the Chu state. They are much stronger than our Wei state. With the strength of the Miraculous Gate, it seems that they're only slightly stronger than the 8th great sect here. The West Yuan state is not only huge, but also has a variety of spirit veins. It is also close to the overseas area. I think these sects have operations in the overseas area, so they have enough resources to support the many nascent soul cultivators in the sect. So we have to go to the overseas area. That is the place where we can rise again. Lu Kuan revealed a look of yearning as he silently calculated the time that had passed. There is still a little over a year left in the 2-year agreement with Senior Brother and the others. I will go to the vicinity of the Heavenly Talisman sect first. The harvest from the battle just now is not small. I should be able to buy a lot of top-level talismans. As long as there are enough top-level talismans, in the next year, I might be able to reach the peak of the early-stage foundation establishment. I have calculated before that I must use 15 years to break through the mid-stage foundation establishment. Now, even if the bottleneck of the early-stage foundation establishment is difficult to break through, the remaining 13 years are enough for me to think of a way to break through. Chapter 319. 2 months later, in a mountain range to the east of the Shiyuan province of Chu, there was a famous sect in Chu. This was the Heavenly Talisman sect. On this day, a man and a woman appeared at the Heavenly Talisman sect. The two were foundation establishment stage cultivators. Their cultivation was powerful, and they both had the mana fluctuations of the great circle of foundation establishment. One of the women had a beautiful face, a voluptuous figure, and a curvaceous figure. She was the fire lady that Lu Kuan had met before, the one who had a pseudo-magic weapon. The man beside her looked different from ordinary people. His skin was completely golden, and his entire body emitted an extremely sharp aura. With one look, one could tell that he had cultivated some kind of extremely powerful metal element technique. The fire lady felt the sharp aura of the man beside her and said, "Old Jean, I'll have to trouble you to accompany me this time. Otherwise, when the day comes, I'm afraid that my mana won't be able to reach the core formation stage." I didn't expect that the sect would obtain another demon token. Now, among the remaining disciples, I'm the only one that meets the requirements. The man surnamed Jean smiled and said, "Junior sister, you don't have to be so polite with me. My mana has already reached the core formation stage. In the next year or 2, I only need to prepare for that place. Right now, helping you find the earth-fired grass overseas is as easy as lifting a finger." Then old Jean asked curiously, "But, junior sister, the person who forced you to use your secret technique and use your pseudo-magic weapon, was it really just an early foundation establishment stage cultivator?" Huamei Yang was embarrassed, but she still nodded and said helplessly, "He is indeed in the early stage of the foundational level. However, his technique is extremely strange. Not only does it contain the power of lightning, but his physical strength is also extremely strong. Even the overturning heaven seal, a set of extremely powerful magic weapons, was forcibly sent flying by him. Furthermore, he used his magic weapon to attack. Combined with the power of lightning, he was able to make my red brilliance sword lose control for a short period of time. His attack power is extremely strong. If I didn't use my pseudo-magic weapon, my life would be in danger." Old Jean revealed a somewhat shocked expression and said, "Used his magic weapon? Powerful physical body? I seem to have heard of your technique from a good friend of mine." The fire lady asked curiously, "Old Jean, you've actually heard of it. Tell me about it." Old Jean summoned a light golden flying boat and said, "Junior sister, get on the flying boat first. We still need a few months to get to the outer sea." After the Fire Lady boarded the flying boat, Old Jean showed some admiration and said, "My good friend is very strong. Although she is still a little bit away from the peak of Foundation establishment, she is much stronger than me." "Which sect's core disciple are you talking about? Could it be the Tao One sect?" Old Jean shook his head and said, "He is a cultivator from the state of Wei on the other side of the land of death. A few years ago, the Shangqing school of the state of Wei was driven out of the state of Wei. The immortal cultivation world of the state of Chu has heard about it. He is a disciple of Shangqing school. He once told me when we were chatting that there was a foundation establishment cultivator from the Yang clan of the state of Wei who had an extremely strange technique. They all used magic weapons to attack their opponents. Their physical body was comparable to that of demonic beasts, and they had the strength of the late Foundation establishment stage. However, the Yang clan was also schemed against by other sections. They were even more miserable than the Shangqing school. The entire clan was wiped out. I heard that some Foundation establishment disciples escaped. The Fire Lady suddenly understood and said, "So, this person is very likely to be a surviving disciple of the Yang clan of the state of Wei." Old Jean waved his hand and said, "This is also a wild guess. Maybe this person learned his technique from other places. Although the person from the Yang clan is also in the early Foundation establishment stage, he doesn't sound as strong as you." The Fire Lady said thoughtfully, "Old Jean, let's not care about this person for now. Let's go to the outer sea and look for the earth fire grass. After that, we will wait at the sect station on the Abyss Island. And, after some time, Martial Ancestor Qian will also go there. After all, if we grasp this opportunity well, there will be 3 more core formation cultivators in the sect." As they spoke, their golden flying boat sped up and flew towards the outer sea in the west. On the same day, a white spirit shuttle appeared outside the mountain range where the Heavenly Talisman sect was located. On it was a strong and burly man, an 18 or 19-year-old youth, and an 11 or 12-year-old child. It was Lu Kuan and the others who had spent a lot of time to come here. Looking at the mountain range in front of them and the cultivators who appeared from time to time in the air, Huang Xiaoyan suddenly asked curiously, "Master, how is the strength of the Heavenly Talisman sect compared to our Yang clan?" Lu Kuan sighed and said, "The Heavenly Talisman sect is really very similar to our Yang clan. We refine magic tools, but they refine talismans. They both rely on the exquisite inheritance of the sect to earn a lot of resources. The Heavenly Talisman sect is famous in the state of Chu for its talisman crafting techniques. Every disciple of the sect has a lot of talismans. If any cultivator were to encounter them, it would be quite troublesome. I heard that the 2 nascent soul elders of the sect only have high-grade magic talismans on them. Because of this, ordinary early nascent soul cultivators aren't willing to fight the 2 elders of the Heavenly Talisman sect." Huang Xiaoyan asked again, "Master, didn't you use mid-grade, top-grade talismans before? Can you use high-grade magic techniques to temper your body?" Lu Kuan bitterly smiled and shook his head. "I also thought about it, but after I learned about high-grade magic techniques, I realized it was impossible. High-grade magic techniques and mid-grade magic techniques are on 2 completely different levels. The difference in power is like the difference between heaven and earth. High-grade magic techniques are even more powerful than ordinary magic treasures. High-grade magic techniques are very difficult to release. Even core formation cultivators can't release them if they don't have enough comprehension of the 5 elements. Only genius cultivators with extremely high comprehension abilities can easily release high-grade magic techniques in the core formation stage. For example, Martial Uncle Nya Wufeng has an extremely high comprehension of wind attribute magic techniques. I've seen Martial Uncle Nya release high-grade wind attribute magic techniques and easily block 3 core formation cultivators. Martial Uncle Nya's cultivation is only at the early core formation stage. Although it's because of the strange magic techniques, it also shows how terrifying high-grade magic techniques are. However, no matter how high a core formation cultivator's comprehension abilities are, under the restriction of magic power, they can only release low-grade, high-grade magic techniques. As for high-grade magic techniques, only nascent soul cultivators can release them. Their might is unimaginable. So the nascent soul cultivators of the Heavenly Talisman sect carry many high-grade talismans. Their battle prowess is greatly increased. Unfortunately, the sentient puppets of my sect can also increase their strength, but they are too difficult to refine. Lu Kuan immediately thought of their Yang clan's method of refining sentient puppets and sighed. Not to mention the two nascent soul cultivators of the Heavenly Talisman sect. Their overall strength and the number of core formation cultivators are greater than our Yang clan. If they want to develop again, they have a long way to go. Huang Xiaoyan couldn't help but clench his fists and said, "Master, I believe that we will definitely develop body cultivation." Lu Kuan also secretly clenched his fists and muttered, "That's right." Chapter 320. Primary top-grade talismans refined by the Heavenly Talisman Sect's Foundation Establishment Disciples, selling them in bulk. Thunder Palm Talisman, 2 of them. It's a must-have for chi condensation cultivators. If anyone wants it, I'll give you the basic talisman crafting technique. Selling large amounts of talisman paper. Besides primary talisman paper, there are also intermediate talismans that can be refined. Talisman paper and talisman brush. Lu Kuan and his group had just arrived at the market of the Heavenly Talisman sect when they heard all kinds of clamor. Were they all selling talismans? They were all related to talismans. These talismans? They're consumables. Sure enough, they sell much better than our Yang clan's magic tools. Moreover, the Shiyuan province is close to the sea. All kinds of demon beast materials can be used to make talismans. Lu Kuan looked at the street in front of him. Besides the fixed shops, there were even more cultivators wearing the Heavenly Talisman sect's disciple robes setting up stalls. Moreover, there were many people setting up stalls everywhere, especially those selling Thunder Palm talismans. There were even several chi condensation cultivators fighting over them. When Lu Kuan looked carefully, he discovered that these people weren't fighting over the Thunder Palm talisman. Instead, they were eyeing the basic talisman crafting technique that the Heavenly Talisman sect's disciple had gifted them. Lu Kuan couldn't help but laugh. He had seen this kind of trick in the Yang clan's market. At that time, they were disciples of the weapon refining peak. They sold magic tools and gave away the basic talisman crafting technique. The basic talisman crafting technique was the emasculated version of their weapon refining peak. After learning it, they would at most be able to refine the simplest formation plate. If they were lucky, with the help of good materials, they would barely be able to refine the most basic magic tool. Looking at the flickering eyes of the Heavenly Talisman sect's disciple selling Thunder Palm talismans, Lu Kuan guessed that if he were to learn the basic talisman crafting technique, he wouldn't even be able to inscribe the simplest elementary magic spell. "Let's go. We'll go to the Heavenly Talisman Pavilion in the middle of the market." It's said that the Heavenly Talisman Pavilion was opened by the Heavenly Talisman sect, and there are core formation stage cultivators guarding the pavilion. With the Heavenly Talisman sect's reputation as one of the top 10 sects, it should be very safe to do business there. Lu Kuan looked at the 5-story building in the middle of the market from afar. He quickened his pace and urged the curious Huang Xiaoyan and little Pan Yen to keep up. After walking for a while, Lu Kuan seemed to have thought of something. He patted the spirit beast pouch at his waist and released Xiao Jin, who sat cross-legged on his shoulder. Lu Kuan whispered a few words. Xiao Jin nodded its head, then it mobilized its demonic spiritual energy, revealing the aura of a rank 1 demonic beast. Although Xiao Jin had the aura of a rank 1 demonic beast, the cultivators on the street didn't pay too much attention to it. Even some chi refinement stage cultivators only gave it a simple glance. They had seen a lot of Class 1 top demonic beasts. Some of the more knowledgeable Foundation establishment cultivators had even seen demonic beasts of Class 5 and above. Therefore, when Xiao Jin revealed some of his aura, no one paid any attention to it. Soon, their group arrived in front of the Heavenly Talisman Pavilion. Lu Kuan immediately looked at their signboard. The three words Heavenly Talisman Pavilion seemed to be carved with a talisman crafting technique, emitting a different magic aura. Lu Kuan weighed the storage pouch at his waist and calculated the remaining spirit stones in his hand. His previous net worth could be said to be extremely generous. At the very beginning, he had spent more than 100,000 spirit stones in the Nanfo market. The people pursued by the 10,000 Treasures Tower had many precious materials that were worth more than 100,000 spirit stones. Therefore, before he entered the Southern Marsh province, he had more than 200,000 spirit stones left on him. After arriving at the Southern Marsh province, Lu Kuan schemed and killed greedy people with evil intentions, earning more than 200,000 spirit stones one after another. His net worth reached close to 500,000 spirit stones, which was equivalent to 5,000 mid-tier spirit stones. It was comparable to the net worth of an ordinary early core formation stage cultivator. However, after that, there were so many rank 1 talismans. In addition, he had spent a lot of money to collect the blood-clotting grass, which had cost him about 300,000 spirit stones. Fortunately, the last cultivator he killed in the Southern Marsh province 2 months ago had a high net worth. Currently, he had about 300,000 spirit stones left on him. These spirit stones can at least buy 20 to 30 rank 1 talismans. That's it, Lu Kuan muttered to himself as he walked into the place that was about to burn his spirit stones. After entering the Heavenly Talisman Pavilion, Lu Kuan and the others saw 6 counters that were more than 10 feet wide. Each counter was engraved with the words metal, wood, water, fire, earth, and variant. Lu Kuan sighed with emotion. The Heavenly Talisman Pavilion really lives up to its reputation. Only one type of magic talisman? Only because they have a large stock of it. It seems that the Heavenly Talisman sect also has a secret technique for cultivating magic techniques in addition to talisman crafting techniques. Otherwise, if they weren't proficient in magic techniques, they wouldn't be able to craft so many talismans. There must be quite a few cultivators with variant spirit roots. If that's the case, the talisman crafting grandmasters among the Heavenly Talisman sect's disciples are definitely not weak. Just as Lu Kuan was observing, a Heavenly Talisman sect disciple walked over. He said, "Fellow Taoist, how may I help you?" Lu Kuan smiled faintly and began to inquire about the Heavenly Talisman sect's mid-tier rank 1 talismans. Come. Just as Lu Kuan was busy buying talismans, at this moment, a blue-haired woman appeared at the entrance of the Heavenly Talisman Pavilion and murmured, "Damn Pomaignon, she stole my demon token spot. My martial uncles are too biased." At this time, there were still quite a number of cultivators in the Heavenly Talisman Pavilion. Many of them, including Lu Kuan, had a change in expression when they heard the demon token. The strange token obtained from the Myriad Treasures Tower cultivator was obediently stored in Lu Kuan's storage bag. Because the material on it was rather strange and the word demon was engraved on it, it left a deep impression on Lu Kuan. Could it be that this token is called the demon token? She even mentioned the Fire Lady. Could it be that the Fire Lady is a disciple of the Heavenly Talisman sect? Many cultivators in the hall turned their heads to look at the woman at the entrance. She had a head of blue hair and a light blue robe with the Heavenly Talisman sect's emblem on it. Her looks were rather ordinary, but her big, bright eyes added a bit of charm to her. At this moment, she had a gloomy look on her face. Lu Kuan's heart skipped a beat when he felt the fluctuation of dermic powers from the blue-robed woman. The aura she exuded was that of a perfected foundation establishment realm cultivator. However, her dermic powers were unstable. It was very likely that she had just broken through. "What are you looking at? Can't I just complain a little?" The blue-robed woman was in an extremely bad mood. She glanced at the cultivators in the hall who were staring at her and glared back at them. "So it's the water fairy. I've been rude. Water fairy, feel free to throw a tantrum. Do you think we're counting on the water attribute talismans refined by the water fairy?" The blue-robed woman revealed a look of disdain. She ignored them and walked up the stairs. When she disappeared down the stairs, the cultivators in the hall began to whisper. "It seems like the fire fairy is back. It's obvious that the fire fairy stole the water fairy's demon token spot. You can't say that she stole it. The Fire Fairy reached the perfected foundation establishment realm a few years ago. According to the order, it should be the Fire Fairy. Lu Kuan was even more confused about the demon token when he heard these people's discussions. Fellow Taoist Lu, what's wrong? Chapter 3:21. Lu Kuan looked at the 30 talismans placed in front of him and felt his heart ache. However, he still took out a bulging storage pouch and tossed it to the Heavenly Talisman sect disciple. The discussions in the hall also stopped. These cultivators' expressions were like mortals who saw a noble. Their faces were filled with disbelief and shock. An early Foundation establishment cultivator spent 280,000 spirit stones to buy talismans. Cultivators like them, who were doing well, only had around 20,000 spirit stones. They simply couldn't believe that this early Foundation establishment cultivator had so many spirit stones. However, even if he had so many spirit stones, why would he buy 30 mid-grade, top-grade talismans? That's right. In their minds, if these spirit stones were exchanged for cultivation increasing medicinal pills, this person would be able to advance from early Foundation establishment to mid-Foundation establishment in a short amount of time. So many talismans? Even if a core formation cultivator doesn't die, they would at least lose a layer of skin. Could it be that he wants to deal with a core formation cultivator? The Foundation establishment cultivators present couldn't help but have this thought. Check these 30 talismans one by one. Afterwards, Lu Kuan said, "These talismans? No problem. However, I have a question to ask fellow Taoist." The Heavenly Talisman Sect's Foundation establishment cultivator put away the spirit stones with a smile. The person in front of him was his big client. To have so many spirit stones, he definitely wasn't simple. He hurriedly replied, "Fellow Taoist, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask." Just now, that fairy mentioned the fiendish devil command. I remember my master once mentioned it to me. However, he went out on a journey later on and didn't have time to tell me. I wonder if fellow Taoist could tell me. Lu Kuan had previously noticed that when the blue-robed woman mentioned the fiendish devil command, at least half of the Foundation establishment cultivators in the hall revealed a different expression. It was very clear that this fiendish devil command was known by many cultivators in the state of Chu. It wasn't a secret that couldn't be spoken of. The Heavenly Talisman Sect's cultivator muttered to himself for a moment. Then he thought about the methods of this cultivator, surnamed Lu. His master was very likely a powerful core formation cultivator. Soon after, he looked at the surrounding cultivators and said in a low voice, "Since it's like this, fellow Taoist might as well sit with me in the side hall for a moment." However, fellow Taoist followers, Lu Kuan nodded and had Huang Xiaoyun and the others wait outside. At the same time, he also had Xiao Jin outside. It was very safe in the Heavenly Talisman Pavilion. Then he followed the Heavenly Talisman Sect disciple into a side hall. The side hall had an isolation formation, so the people in the hall couldn't see what was going on here. Fellow Taoist can be considered of the Heavenly Talisman. Lu Kuan said politely, "I've long heard from Master that the Heavenly Talisman Sect's talisman crafting technique is extremely powerful. This time, he also asked me to buy some talismans for him." The Heavenly Talisman Sect disciple revealed an expression of understanding. He continued, "Fellow Taoist, you asked about the demon token. I wonder how your master mentioned it." Lu Kuan seemed to be reminiscing as he said, "That day, Master seemed to have said that there was news of the demon orders, and then he left the cave. I wonder if you could tell me where Master went?" The Heavenly Talisman Sect's disciple said, thoughtfully, "It seems your master went to look for the demon token. He should be planning to sell it. After all, with fellow Taoist's current cultivation, he has no use for this token. Please enlighten me. In any case, your master will tell fellow Taoist about it. This demon token can be considered a miraculous item. When it first appeared, it happened to be many years ago when we humans were fighting with the demon beasts overseas. At that time, in the largest battle between humans and demonic beasts, several late nascent soul stage cultivators from the Chu country were fighting with a Class 10 demonic beast. Lu Kuan's expression changed. Could it be a Class 10 demonic beast comparable to a late nascent soul stage cultivator? That's right. When experts of this level fight, it's like heaven and earth are in chaos. In the end, when they combine their strength, they seem to have triggered some kind of restriction. Many strange tokens were released from the void. These tokens were the demon tokens. The battle between the two sides stopped, and they started fighting over this demon token. According to rumors, the demonic beasts also obtained many demon tokens at that time. After that, the sects that participated in the battle all studied this demon token. However, they couldn't find anything. They only knew that this token emitted a strange fluctuation when it was infused with magic power. On the second day after the demon token was released, at the same place, a huge island suddenly appeared out of thin air. However, this island was covered with restrictions. Even when several late nascent soul stage cultivators and Class 10 demonic beasts worked together, they couldn't break through the restrictions. At that time, they thought of the demon token. After a series of experiments, they discovered that only cultivators below the core formation stage who used this demon token could enter the huge island under the strange fluctuation emitted by the demon token. Under the investigation of many Foundation Establishment stage cultivators, the situation on the island gradually became known. This huge island is a treasure trove that no one has discovered. There are a few places on the island that are abnormally rich in spiritual qi. Even the Dao 1 sect doesn't have as much spiritual qi as the island. No one knows how long this island has been hidden. There are many remnant abodes of cultivators on the island. Some of the herbs in the abodes have already grown to an extremely old age. It's a treasure trove for us immortal cultivators. After this island appeared for 3 years, it would return to the void and never appear again. Immortal cultivators who didn't come out within 3 years would stay inside forever. After that, this island would appear once every 300 years. Only those with a demon token could enter. Later on, this island became known as the Demon Island. After listening for a long time, Lu Kuan finally revealed a look of realization. With the demon token, you can enter the Demon Island. Just the abodes of ancient cultivators on the island are enough to attract the attention of core formation stage and even nascent soul stage cultivators. The Heavenly Talisman sect disciple shook his head and said, "That was a long time ago. After so many years of development on the Demon Island, most of the ancient cultivators' abodes have already been explored. What's left are restrictions that Foundation Establishment stage cultivators can't break. The reason why we're fighting for the demon token now is because of the rich spiritual qi on the Demon Island." Spiritual qi, that's right. I previously said that with your current cultivation, you wouldn't be able to use it because the rich spiritual qi on the island is no less than the best spiritual herbs for Foundation Establishment stage cultivators. It's too much of a waste for early and middle Foundation Establishment stage cultivators. With the help of the spiritual qi on the island, a Foundation Establishment stage cultivator's chances of breaking through to the core formation stage are 30% higher than outside. The Heavenly Talisman sect disciple's face was filled with envy. For us ordinary Foundation Establishment stage cultivators, even if we're well prepared and obtain the extremely precious Heavenly Transformation Pill, our chances of breaking through to the core formation stage are only 30%. Therefore, as long as we're well prepared, even if we're not as talented, our chances of breaking through to the core formation stage on the Demon Island can reach 60%. This is enough to make all Foundation Establishment stage cultivators go crazy. The demon token can only be used by the same person twice. After one entry and one exit, it'll be scattered all over the sea. Many sects are fighting for this demon token. Lu Kuan muttered, "They'll definitely fight for it." This demon token means a core formation stage cultivator. Then Lu Kuan shook his head and cupped his fists. "Thank you, fellow Taoist, for clearing my doubts. It seems that even if Master obtains the demon token, I won't be able to use it. Fellow Taoist Lu, if your master doesn't have any other foundation establishment stage cultivators, then this demon token will definitely be sold at the auction house on the Abyss Island. Fellow Taoist, you'll definitely meet your master on the Abyss Island. The Demon Island isn't far from the Abyss Island. Many cultivators have recently rushed to the Abyss Island. After all, there's still about 2 years before the Demon Island appears. Some core formation stage and even nascent soul stage cultivators will take out the demon token for auction. Chapter 322. After listening to the Heavenly Talisman sect disciples' description, Lu Kuan finally understood the importance of the demon token. It was a top-grade pill that could increase the chances of forming a core by 30%. It was enough to make any foundation establishment cultivator go crazy. It's a pity that Senior Brother Qin might not even reach the middle stage of the foundation establishment realm in the past 2 years. If he were 100 years later, Senior Brother Qin would definitely reach the core formation realm with the help of the heaven-changing pill, the ancient foundation establishment technique, and the spiritual energy of the Demon Island. Lu Kuan sighed in his heart. Spiritual qi is indeed useful for body refinement arts, but it only manifests in ordinary cultivation. For example, when I'm using top-grade spells to bombard my body, I don't need much spiritual qi. I only need spirit stones to recover my magic power. But I don't know if pure spiritual qi is useful for body refinement breakthroughs. Lu Kuan shook his head and threw away his thoughts. He said to the Heavenly Talisman sect disciple who was also pondering, "That's right. Do you know if the Heavenly Talisman sect has any special spell talismans? Do you have any mid-grade or top-grade ones? What? Does fellow Taoist want to buy special spell talismans?" Lu Kuan nodded and said, "That's right, but I only want offensive ones. What do you have here?" The Heavenly Talisman sect disciple smiled bitterly and said, "If fellow Taoist wants a mid-grade, or high-grade special spell talismans, we can reluctantly take them out. As for top-grade special talismans, even my Heavenly Talisman Pavilion rarely sells them." Lu Kuan frowned and said, "But I just saw a special spell talisman counter outside." Fellow Taoist, Lu might not know about special spell talismans. They require cultivators with special spiritual roots to refine. However, refining top-grade special spell talismans is extremely difficult. Even cultivators with special spiritual roots have a hard time mastering them. Currently, only our foundation establishment senior martial brother can refine wind attribute top-grade talismans. Wind attribute? Lu Kuan shook his head helplessly. He had seen Yao Wufeng's attack methods. The wind attribute spell talismans were extremely sharp, and the cutting power was incomparably fierce. There was no way to use it to temper the body. The Heavenly Talisman sect disciple suddenly slapped his head and said, "I remember now. We still have an ice attribute freezing essence spell talisman here. Was it refined by that martial uncle? A failure?" Lu Kuan asked doubtfully, "Freezing essence technique? I don't think I've heard of this spell before." The Heavenly Talisman sect's disciple explained, "It's normal that fellow Taoist hasn't heard of it. This freezing essence technique is a high-level technique. Core formation stage cultivators are able to release ice element high-level beginner-level ice magic. Once, when this martial uncle was in a very good state, he tried to refine this high-level talisman. But in the end, for some reason, the refinement failed. This failed product of the freezing essence art was sold to our Heavenly Talisman sect. When Lu Kuan heard that it was a failed high-grade spell, he was ecstatic. A spell refined by a core formation cultivator with an ice spirit root was definitely not an ordinary spell. A failed high-grade ice attribute spell would definitely be more powerful than an authentic Thunderfall technique. "I want this. How much is fellow Taoist selling this?" The Heavenly Talisman sect's disciple said with some hesitation. "At that time, we set the price at 30,000 spirit stones. However, I need to ask the pavilion master. Fellow Taoist, please wait for a moment." Fellow Taoist, you can let my followers in now, right?" "No problem." After saying that, The heavenly talisman sect's disciple hurriedly walked out. Soon after, Huang Xiaoyan and the others also walked in. Lu Kuan carefully sensed with his physical nerves. When he didn't find any divine sense spying, he said to Xiao Jin, this market square might have blood coagulation grass. Listen carefully. When Lu Kuan saw the faint golden light appearing on the little monkey's ears, he couldn't help but think of the blood coagulation grass he bought before. It was Xiao Jin who heard about the blood coagulation grass in the market square. That was why Lu Kuan intervened and bought it at a high price. In the market square, unless there was a formation that blocked the divine sense of a core formation cultivator, nothing could escape Xiao Jin's spirit ears. Lu Kuan and the others waited here for about a quarter of an hour before they heard someone walking towards the side hall. Lu Kuan looked outside and found that it wasn't the heavenly talisman sect's disciple from before, but the blue-robed woman. The heavenly talisman sect's disciple obediently followed behind the woman. The woman's eyes flashed brightly. Her pupils were slightly blue. She curiously looked at Lu Kuan and said, "It's you. You want to buy Master's freezing essence technique talisman? Is that so?" When Lu Kuan saw this female cultivator called Water Fairy come in, a look of surprise flashed across his face. He cupped his fists and said, "So Water Fairy's master refined this talisman? Your master's talisman crafting technique has really reached an unfathomable level." The blue-robed woman curled her lips and said, "You know your stuff? But let me tell you, this talisman, it's not for spirit stones." Lu Kuan was taken aback. Then he understood the meaning behind her words and asked, "Water Fairy wants to barter?" The blue-robed woman said, "That's right. This freezing essence technique talisman, I have the authority to help Master deal with it. I don't lack spirit stones." Lu Kuan looked at the heavenly talisman sect's disciple behind the woman. That disciple looked at Lu Kuan with a wry smile. His expression was extremely helpless. What does the Water Fairy want in exchange? The blue-robed woman fiddled with her long blue hair. She lowered her head and thought for a moment. Then she said, "I seem to be lacking a suitable immortal treasure. I've just entered the great circle of foundation establishment. I feel like my previous level 3 spiritual immortal treasure can unleash its full power." After hearing this, Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with golden light. He carefully observed the woman in front of him, who knew that this woman's cultivation technique was extraordinary. She immediately sensed Lu Kuan's probing. Her dense water attribute, immortal powers surged. "Don't misunderstand, Fairy. Lu is only confirming the attribute of your cultivation technique. Now it seems that Fairy cultivates a top-tier water attribute cultivation technique. Lu happens to have a set of immortal treasures refined by my master." When Lu Kuan looked at the blue-robed woman, she instantly felt as if her clothes had been stripped off. She stood naked in front of him. She was both embarrassed and frightened. But when she saw Lu Kuan take out 2 aqua-blue long swords, she threw these emotions to the back of her mind. The 2 swords were exactly the same. The aura on them was as vast as the sea, but also as clear as a mountain stream. They emitted a pure water attribute aura that made her feel very close to them. The blue-robed woman subconsciously summoned the 2 long swords into her hands and carefully examined them. Lu Kuan saw the woman's expression in his eyes, and he was quite proud in his heart. This 3rd-level set of long swords was a set of Immortal Treasures Towers Brothers. However, after Lu Kuan's transformation and refinement, not only did he add a lot of precious materials, but he also transformed the internal array. The power was completely different from before. At this time, even if the 2 brothers of Immortal Treasures Tower came back to life, they probably wouldn't recognize this pair of longswords. After Lu Kuan engraved the spirit-controlling array on his body, he had a new breakthrough in his understanding of refining, and his level of refining went up a level. If his martial uncle Nya and martial uncle Zhu saw this magic weapon, they might also praise it. Dang! Under the blue-robed woman's perfect foundation establishment stage, spiritual power, and divine sense, the pair of long swords easily combined together and turned into a long sword as thin as a cicada's silk. Then, like a blue lightning dragon, it shuttled quickly in this side hall. Its speed was extremely fast. The blue-robed woman stared fixedly at the combined long swords, her face full of joy. Good. I'll trade for this set of immortal treasures. Lu Kuan smiled and said, Fairy, you've also felt the power of this pair of jade wave nimble swords. According to the price of spirit stones, 30,000 spirit stones can only buy one of them. The blue-robed woman wasn't an immortal cultivator who hadn't seen the world. When she was controlling this pair of immortal treasures, she realized that her previous level 3 spiritual immortal treasures weren't worth much. The speed at which they combined with the long sword surprised her even more. 30,000 spirit stones per sword was worth this price. Seeing the woman hesitate, Lu Kuan said, Fairy water, I won't use spirit stones for the other sword. Why don't you use a mid-grade top-tier talisman? How about a trade? Chapter 323. Half an hour later, Lu Kuan left the Heavenly Talisman Pavilion with Huang Xiaoyun and the others. Freezing talisman? It really lives up to its name. Just by holding it with my hand, I can feel a bit of coldness. Anyway, I should buy it first. Maybe I can use it when I break through the early stage of foundation establishment. It's a pity about that pair of Azure Wave Light Spirit Swords. Forget it. Anyway, I have all kinds of basic materials on me. It's not that difficult to forge a new set of magic tools. Let's break through first. Just as Lu Kuan was thinking, the little monkey on his shoulder suddenly pulled him and whispered in his ear. Lu Kuan's face lit up after hearing this. He looked diagonally ahead and saw a young man in a yellow robe walking out of an inconspicuous house. The yellow-robed man looked ordinary. His skin was very pale, as if he was malnourished. It was a little strange. Although he restrained his spiritual power cultivation, Lu Kuan's golden eyes could see clearly that this person had the cultivation of a late stage of foundation establishment. Then the yellow-robed man looked around casually and walked out. Lu Kuan followed him unhurriedly, then wrapped him in Xiao Jin with his divine sense and asked, What's the matter? Xiao Jin, is this the disciple of the red refining sect you mentioned? Squeak, squeak. It turned out that when Lu Kuan walked out of the Heavenly Talisman sect, Xiao Jin heard the words, red refining sect. Of course, it knew that people from this sect were likely to have blood coagulation grass, so it immediately told Lu Kuan this. You don't have to make a sound. Just follow me. Then Lu Kuan followed the yellow-robed man from a distance. With his golden eyes and Xiao Jin's spiritual ears, as long as this person's flying speed was average, Lu Kuan was confident to keep up. The disciple of the red refining sect in front of him was likely to have a 500-year-old blood coagulation grass. This alone was enough to make Lu Kuan follow. Not long after, the yellow-robed man entered a rather ordinary-looking shop. According to Xiao Jin's description, this person bought some intermediate talismans. Did this person buy all the talismans that can control one's soul? Could it be that the cultivation method of the red refining sect requires the cooperation of such spells? Just as Lu Kuan was wondering what kind of talisman this person had bought, he suddenly realized something. At this moment, the yellow-robed man walked out again, and then he directly walked out of the market. After leaving the market, the suspected yellow-robed man of the red refining sect summoned a flying magic weapon and flew in one direction. After a while, Lu Kuan and his party also followed. I happened to pass by the Heavenly Talisman Sect Market Square and bought some mid-grade bewitching talismans. That way, those kids won't be able to escape. The yellow-robed man muttered to himself. After flying for about 20 miles, they arrived at a hill. There was a cave in the middle of the hill that was clearly carved out by a knife or an axe. He landed at the entrance of the cave with flashing restrictions and threw a voice transmission talisman in his hand. After a while, the restriction at the entrance of the cave opened. The yellow-robed man's divine sense first probed inside, and a smile appeared on his pale face as he walked in directly. This cave was extremely simple. It was just an ordinary cave. At this time, there was a young woman in the cave. This woman looked somewhat beautiful, but her skin was the same as the yellow-robed man's, which was abnormally pale. Senior brother, did it go well? The woman asked. Her voice was slightly hoarse. She did not sound like a young woman, but like a middle-aged woman in her 30s or 40s. Junior sister, we have dealt with the Heavenly Talisman sect before. Their talismans are still very good. As he spoke, the yellow-robed man looked at a corner of the cave. He saw two men and a woman in this corner. They all had their heads lowered, and their bodies were tied up by a rope-like magic weapon. This rope-like magic weapon emitted a blood-red light, which slowly sank into their bodies. Beside these three people, there was a silver leopard lying on the ground. However, this little leopard's body was covered with talismans. It looked extremely dispirited. The woman looked at Junior Leopard and then at the three trapped men and women. She sighed and said, "Senior brother, meeting these three guys this time is a great opportunity for us. This silver-spotted leopard is still okay, but the key is these three people." I just carefully checked again. The chi and blood in their bodies are even stronger than mine in the late stage of Foundation establishment. They can totally be used as Foundation establishment cultivators in the Great Completion. The three of them are all like this. It must be because of their cultivation method. If this cultivation method is obtained by our red refining sect, we can raise some cultivators to practice this cultivation method. In a short period of time, we can obtain high-level blood essence. The yellow-robed man revealed a look of yearning as he said, "That's right. These people look so young. At most, they've cultivated for 10 to 20 years. Any Foundation establishment cultivator in the sect can afford to wait for such a long time." The man recalled and said, "Marshal Uncle Run is a genius. He has already reverse-engineered the new red refining demonic skill from the sect's cultivation method. And our senior brother is practicing the new version of the red refining demonic skill. He fumbled by himself and spent 200 years to finally reach the great completion of Foundation establishment." When a yellow-robed man spoke, his face was full of admiration as if he worshipped the senior brother he mentioned. The woman also seemed to be very excited. She said, "The power of senior brother's red refining demonic skill is amazing. I'm afraid that even core formation cultivators can't do anything to him for a while. If senior brother's red refining demonic skill succeeds in core formation, then, so this time, the Demon Island is a chance given to our red refining sect by the heavens. It also sent us this opportunity." As he spoke, the yellow-robed man looked at the man and woman in the corner again. Eldest senior brother told us that even on the Demon Island, the probability of forming the gold core is still not high. In addition to the help of the special Scarlet Blood Vitality Pill, we also need a large amount of fresh blood essence from Peak Foundation establishment cultivators. Now that the Demon Island overseas is about to appear, even if there are many cultivators at the great completion of Foundation establishment, it won't be easy to make a move. After all, the top 10 sects will send disciples over this time. And these people in front of us are different. Their cultivation is in the chi refinement stage, and their physical body and chi blood are no less than cultivators at the peak of Foundation establishment. If it's really as we guessed, the opportunity for the red refining sect to rise has finally arrived. The woman said with a fanatical face, "This time, we won't be as stupid as before. After senior brother succeeds in forming his core, he will definitely develop in secret and assassinate cultivators in the depths of the sea to prepare for condensing his nascent soul. If there is no problem with these people's cultivation methods, we will solve the problem of blood essence within the sect. In the future, there will be more and more core formation cultivators practicing the red refining demonic skill." Suddenly, the yellow-robed man's expression changed. He laughed and said, "Kid, your spiritual sense is not weak. You must have woken up. However, even if you heard what we said, it's useless." A man with a heroic face in the corner raised his head. If Lu Kuan saw this face, he would realize that this young man, with sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes, was Zhao Qingtian. They didn't know when they were captured by the people of the red refining sect. Zhao Qingtian stared at the yellow-robed man and said, "Yes, I heard your words. It's useless. We can't escape from too late Foundation establishment stage cultivators. But if I commit suicide, I don't think it will be of any use to you." The yellow-robed man snorted and said, Your mana is now controlled. You can't even commit suicide. Zhao Qingtian said in a deep voice, "You also know that our blood and qi are vigorous. It's easy for us to mobilize our blood to burst the heart." The yellow-robed man was a little surprised and said, "Kid, I don't have the idea of killing you. If you tell us the cultivation method, we cannot kill you at all. Even the red refining sect can let you teach disciples." Seeing that Zhao Qingtian's expression was a little loose, the yellow-robed man suddenly threw out a talisman. It turned into a black light and shot towards Zhao Qingtian. "You?" Zhao Qingtian was trapped in place. Before he could react, the black light hit his forehead and he fainted. "I didn't expect that the talisman I just bought would be used. Hee. This is an intermediate soul subduing talisman. You can't break free." Chapter 3:24. Junior sister, let's set off earlier. This time, not only did we successfully complete the mission, but we also have additional gains. Maybe the martial uncles will help us enter the great circle of Foundation establishment and let us enter the Demon Island. The woman from the red refining sect revealed a look of surprise and said, "Senior brother, are you serious?" The yellow-robed man smiled and said, "This mission is to obtain the demon token from that small family. The sect originally promised us that the reward would be the heaven-changing pill and the scarlet blood pill. Now, we are very likely to have found the solution to the scarlet blood demonic technique. This is a great contribution. The martial uncles in the sect are never stingy with their rewards. We are all at the peak of the late stage of Foundation establishment. With their help, we can break through to the great circle of Foundation establishment within 2 years. After entering the Demon Island, advancing to the core formation stage is a certainty." The woman frowned and said, "But second senior brother's quota will be canceled." The yellow-robed man showed a bit of disdain and said, "I definitely don't dare to compete with eldest senior brother. Although second senior brother is powerful, when we reach the great circle of Foundation establishment, we won't be too far behind him. Then let's hurry back and report to the martial uncles." "Okay." Then, the woman waved her hand. The blood-red whip flashed slightly and floated towards her with Zhao Qingtian and the other two. The yellow-robed man put the dispirited, silver-spotted leopard on the ground into the spirit beast bag. After the two of them removed the formation at the entrance of the cave, the woman summoned a light red flying boat. When she was about to jump on the flying boat, the yellow-robed man's divine sense suddenly felt 2 oars appear not far away. He couldn't help but look up. 100 feet away, an ape the size of an ordinary person roared towards the sky. There was a wisp of dark black light flashing in the ape's claws. The demonic aura on its body was comparable to that of a level 3 demonic beast. In front of the ape was a rapidly spinning purple whirlwind. It seemed to be spinning faster and faster. A figure could be vaguely seen in it, exuding the mana fluctuations of the early stage of Foundation establishment. Although the cultivation of this person and beast was ordinary, the yellow-robed man felt a very strong threat of death for no reason. He subconsciously shouted, "Junior sister, defend." As he spoke, he quickly put up a magic barrier and hurriedly took out an extremely sturdy black round shield from his storage bag. When a woman heard the yellow-robed man's warning, she immediately activated her magic power barrier. However, she didn't seem to take the opponents in front of her seriously. She didn't summon any defensive magic tools and only used the light red flying boat to block in front of them. Just as the two of them were done, the ape had already turned around and smashed the dark light in his hand into the purple whirlwind that had accelerated to the extreme. Clang! As soon as the two red refining sect disciples heard a crisp sound, the dark light had already arrived in front of them. The light red flying boat in front of them was like tofu as it was penetrated by the black light. Crack, crack. A few cracks appeared on the light red flying boat where the black light had passed through. In the blink of an eye, the cracks had spread to the entire flying boat. This flying magic tool that could be considered a top-grade flying magic tool shattered into countless pieces and scattered on the ground. The yellow-robed man was sweating profusely. The moment the black light passed through, he even thought that he was in the river of death. He had only felt this feeling from the core formation stage cultivators in the sect. Although he was extremely panicked, the yellow-robed man quickly took out 2 talismans with powerful magic power fluctuations. After taking a picture of himself, he said, "Junior sister, the enemy, is too terrifying. We have to work together to use the red demon technique to have a chance of survival." At the same time, he took out the remaining defensive talisman. He patted the woman on the side. A light yellow thick shield enveloped the woman, but the female cultivator of the red refining sect looked sluggish and her pupils dilated. Her body seemed to be too weak to withstand the wind. The breeze brought by it blew her backward. "Junior sister." The yellow-robed man supported the woman through the shield. After taking a closer look, he found that his junior sister's forehead was bleeding. The wound in the middle was so thin that it couldn't be seen, as if it was only the size of a fingernail. It was inconspicuous. Not good. The man's expression changed drastically. His body's magic power suddenly surged and poured into the shield in front of him. At the same time, he threw his junior sister's warm body and the shield forward. Dang! Another black light flashed out. The talisman that was thrown out of the woman's body? The shield broke and passed through the woman's body. Then, it hit the man's black shield. The yellow-robed man immediately felt a terrifying force appear on the shield. This brute force directly caused this seemingly powerful shield to become dim and dull. Puff! The yellow-robed man couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood, but his face showed joy. Although his level 3 psychic shield was damaged, this black light was blocked after all. But before he could be completely happy, he sensed another black light flying over. Impossible! How can a Foundation Establishment Stage Cultivator use this level of attack 3 times? The yellow-robed man was terrified and immediately burned the magic power of the late Foundation Establishment Stage. The originally dim black round shield shone brightly and even let out a series of groaning sounds. This shield had been activated to its maximum power. Dang! Another sound came out, but this time it wasn't clear. Although the yellow-robed man's shield was activated to its maximum power, it was seriously damaged before. This time, it was directly penetrated by the dark black light and lost a lot of spirit power, falling to the ground. The black light then hit the man's mid-level high-grade defensive talisman. Although it penetrated the shield and the power of the black light decreased a lot, it still broke this mid-level high-grade defensive shield. Fortunately, the yellow-robed man's last layer of Foundation Establishment Stage shield blocked the dissipated power of the black light. At this time, he discovered that this black light was a 3-inch long black fingernail magic tool. What? There's more! The yellow-robed man sensed the 4th black light flying over from afar and showed a look of despair. He could only subconsciously burn his magic power into the shield and take out a few more talismans. He threw them on himself without any hesitation. Poochie! Without the protection of the powerful defensive magic tool, the yellow-robed man's shields were like thin layers of rice paper, easily penetrated by the black fingernail. After the magic power shield disappeared, blood gradually flowed out from the yellow-robed man's forehead, and he fell down with a plop. Lu Kuan walked forward with a pale face. Looking at the 2 silent enemies, he said to the little monkey who had returned to his original size, "Xiao Jin, I remember last time we used 3 netherworld claws to barely block the attack of a core formation stage cultivator's magic tool." Squeak, squeak. A core formation stage cultivator is indeed powerful. We just used 3 attacks to kill this Foundation Establishment Stage cultivator. He even burned his magic power in the end. This means that a core formation stage cultivator's magic tool can easily kill a Foundation Establishment Stage cultivator. Fortunately, we didn't meet them face to face when we were escaping. Otherwise, we would have died either way. Lu Kuan recalled the scene of being chased by a core formation stage cultivator, and his forehead couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. Soon after, he sighed, "I didn't expect you to catch my disciple, but you're unlucky to come out of this cave. Aren't you living targets?" In the past, when Senior Marshal Brother Chin and I used the saber formation, even Foundation Establishment Stage cultivators had to avoid it. Although this attack didn't have a flying dagger power by magic power, the magic tool's material was even more powerful under our combined power. Xiao Jin, go get the Netherworld claws. I'll see how Qing Tian and the others are doing. Chapter 325. High up in the sky of Shiyuan state of Chu, a white spirit shuttle shuttled through the clouds at a fast speed. Lu Kuan stood at the front. While controlling the spirit shuttle, he played with the black token in his hand. The front and back of the token were engraved with the words Yao and Mo. These two disciples of the Red Refining Sect also have a demon token. I didn't expect to get 2 demon tokens by chance. According to the Water Fairy's performance that day, even in the top 10 sects, there are very few demon tokens. Lu Kuan then put the demon token in his hand into his storage bag. It's better to put it away. If a passing core formation cultivator sees it, it'll be over. After muttering for a while, Lu Kuan turned to look at the other people in the spirit shuttle. Huang Xiaoyun and Little Pan Yin were cultivating. The Zhao siblings and Yuxian were sleeping. Looking at the sleeping disciples, Lu Kuan couldn't help but take out a wooden bracelet from his storage pouch. This wooden bracelet, Lu Kuan only wore it with the spirit control armor when he was cultivating. Just now, he tried to remove the soul-subduing spell for the 3 disciples. He found that with his divine sense that was close to the late stage of foundation establishment, he was still a little bit away from removing the spell. Later, he remembered the mysterious wooden bracelet that woke him up when he first met Shenmeng Yao. He took it out and tried it. Then, with the cooperation of his divine sense and the wooden bracelet, he removed the mid-level and mid-level soul-subduing spell. I don't know where Zhang Yang found this wooden bracelet. Uncle Zhang didn't say it clearly before he died. Thanks to this wooden bracelet, my divine sense is so condensed. Unfortunately, my fighting style is special. If it was destroyed in a fierce battle, like the previous spirit control armor, I wouldn't be able to find such a strange item. Meow. Suddenly, there was a cat's cry. Lu Kuan looked back in confusion and saw a little gray struggling to stand up and let out a soft cry. When the little monkey heard this weak cry, its body began to tremble. In the end, it couldn't help but roll on the ground and laugh wildly. The little silver-spotted leopard looked at Xiao Jin, who was clutching his belly and laughing with anger at his eyes. However, he looked at his weak body and turned around, leaving Xiao Jin with a big silver butt. Xiao Jin, that's enough. Don't laugh at Xiao Hui. If you were to face those 2 late-stage foundation establishment cultivators alone, you wouldn't be any better. Don't look at how easily we killed them. The crimson magic technique they practiced was quite extraordinary. Creak, creak. Don't be unconvinced. The crimson devil technique has a kind of divine ability that can corrupt other people's magic tools. After your staff's power was reduced by more than half, you're not their opponent at all. Lu Kuan had already found the cultivation method of the Scarlet Devil technique in their storage pouches. Although he couldn't cultivate it, he could still see a few powerful divine abilities of the Scarlet Devil technique. Master, I'm not dreaming, am I? Zhao Qingtian's spiritual sense was the strongest among the 3 disciples, so he was the first to recover. That black light, not good. This is that guy's illusion. When he saw Lu Kuan, his expression was stunned. Then, his expression changed drastically. He looked at the scene in front of him vigilantly. He was shocked by the authenticity of the illusion in his heart. Illusion your head. Xiao Jin hit him a few times, and your second junior brother still hasn't woken up. Papa, ouch. It hurts. Is it not an illusion? Papa, master. Eldest senior brother, I know I was wrong. Hey, eldest senior brother, you are at the foundation establishment stage. Can you be gentler? After a quarter of an hour, Yuxian and Sher Chao also woke up. After listening to their master talk about what happened before, they suddenly felt like they had survived a disaster. Zhao Qingtian touched his face that was restored by the wood attribute spiritual power and asked curiously, Master, why did you let eldest senior brother listen to the Scarlet Refining Sect? Lu Kuan said angrily, I haven't asked you yet. I've already told you that I'm just mixing in the circle of qi condensation. How did I provoke the late stage of foundation establishment cultivator of the Red Refining Sect? Zhao Qingtian sighed and said, Master, it's not that we were careless, but it's really a double whammy. When we were at the border between the Shiyuan state and the Zhongyun state, we encountered a rogue cultivator at the early stage of the Foundation establishment stage. He actually shamelessly attacked us. Fortunately, the defense of the body cultivator is strong. The three of US joined forces to block his attack. After that, Little Gray came out and scared him away. However, the scene of us resisting the Foundation establishment stage cultivator was seen by the passing Scarlet refining sect disciples. Later, we were easily subdued by the two of them. Master, you also know what happened after that. Lu Kuan listened to his story and was silent for a while. After Xiao Jin and I found out that they entered the cave, we let Xiao Jin eavesdrop on their conversation. Sigh, I didn't expect the Scarlet Blood demonic technique to reappear in the world. Master, you know about the Scarlet Blood demonic technique. I overheard it in the cave. Lu Kuan said in a deep voice, the Scarlet Blood demonic technique can break through a big realm easily with a large amount of blood essence of cultivators of the same level. Qing Tian, you know about the old ghost Morong back then. Don't you understand the threat of this technique to us? Zhao Qingtian thought of the conversation between the Scarlet refining sect disciples in the cave, and his face turned pale. Moreover, the location of the Scarlet refining sect is close to the sea. The three of you fought with the enemy and were all discovered by the passing Scarlet refining sect disciples. Then if we develop body cultivators in the sea, we will most likely attract the attention of the Scarlet refining sect. After all, the blood essence of us body cultivators is completely comparable to the cultivators of a higher realm. It is the easiest elixir for them to break through a big realm when they cultivate the Scarlet Blood demonic technique. They will not provoke the people of the top 10 sects at all. Several disciples looked at each other. Except for Huang Xiaoyan and Little Pan Yin, the other two had heard about the old ghost Murong from Zhao Qingtian. Lu Kuan said in a heavy voice, although the Scarlet Refining Sect is not one of the top 10 sects of the Chu state, there is a nascent soul stage cultivator in the sect. Even if the overall strength is not as good as our Yang clan, it is not that bad. We are definitely not their opponents. Lu Kuan's disciples were silent when they heard the words. However, if they did not go out to explore, experience, and look for opportunities in the immortal cultivation world, their cultivation would definitely not make much progress. But if there was a fierce battle outside, if they were discovered by the people of the Scarlet Refining Sect in the sea, the consequences would be unimaginable. Lu Kuan thought for a while, waved his hand and said, "You don't have to worry too much. If you encounter a battle later, just be honest and use the object control technique to control the magic weapon to attack the enemy and cooperate with the spell attack during the period. Don't use the body cultivator's methods unless it is a last resort. Do you hear me?" "Yes, master." Zhao Qingtian and the others looked a little gloomy. During this period of time, they had been alone in the Chu state and had already experienced the power of body cultivators. The three of them could even temporarily resist the attack of a cultivator of the Foundation establishment stage. They were only at the late stage of the Qi refining stage. Huang Xiaoyan and Little Pan Yin had seen Lu Kuan's incomparably powerful combat power, so they did not use the body cultivator's methods. They were extremely aggrieved. Of course, Lu Kuan knew the thoughts of these disciples. He then said, "Before the Foundation establishment stage, you guys should cultivate honestly and steadily. As for the Scarlet Refining Sect, I will think of a way. Otherwise, our plan to develop body cultivators in the sea can't be realized at all." After appeasing these disciples, Lu Kuan's heart was filled with killing intent. "It seems that I have to go to the Demon Island. That senior brother of the Scarlet Refining Sect must die. If he succeeds in forming the core and passes on the cultivation experience of the Scarlet Blood Devil technique, more and more disciples of the Scarlet Refining Sect will cultivate this technique. Then there will be no place for body cultivators to survive in the sea." Chapter 326. All the cultivators, and even mortals in the country of Chu knew that in the westernmost part of the country of Chu, there was a boundless ocean. However, tens of thousands of years ago, Even cultivators didn't dare to enter the ocean. This was because at that time, the boundless ocean was the world of demonic beasts. In the unfathomable depths of the ocean, there were countless monsters with terrifying strength. The islands of various sizes were also filled with ferocious beasts rarely seen on land. Until tens of thousands of years ago, when the strength of Chu's cultivation world reached its peak, the internal resources were not enough to distribute. If they didn't expand their territory, then a large-scale war would break out between the major sections. In the end, after a discussion among the upper echelons of Chu's sects, they decided to join forces and launch an attack on the ocean near Chu. After 100 years of war, humans finally occupied the ocean closest to the coast and established many island cities. Among them, the most popular one among cultivators was the Abyss Island. On this day, in the sky above the dark blue ocean, two cultivators stood on a spirit shuttle and flew slowly. One of them was a middle-aged man wearing a red robe. He had a broad body and a plump body. He had an amiable expression on his face, and his eyes were slightly narrowed as he looked at the rising sun above the ocean. The other man looked younger. He had thick eyebrows, big eyes, and short hair. He was wearing a black suit that was slightly tight, outlining his strong and full muscles. When he stood next to the fat man beside him, they looked rather out of place. The man in the tight black robe was Lu Kuan. The plump man in the red robe was the peak lord of the Yang clan's morning sun peak, Zhu Xiaofeng. It had been a year since Lu Kuan left the heavenly talisman Sex Market Square. Lu Kuan looked at the slowly rising sun and the endless horizon. He deeply felt his own insignificance, and a sense of reverence for the sea grew in his heart. Zhu Xiaofeng looked at the rather tranquil sea surface and said with some emotion, "Junior Marshal Brother Lu, I heard that when I was in Chu, before this sea area was conquered by cultivators, one could encounter all kinds of demonic beasts just by flying on it for a short while. Even on the shore, we can encounter fiend beasts above the 5th level. But now, we have been flying from the shore to the sea for half a day, and we haven't encountered a single fiend beast. It can be seen that this area has been completely conquered by the immortal cultivators." However, Lu Kuan frowned and said, "We don't know how big this sea is. The number of demonic beasts in the deep sea is probably astonishing. I'm afraid that it will be very difficult to conquer the deep sea. Isn't this perfect? The immortal cultivators and the demon beasts are in a stalemate in the deep sea. All kinds of magical tools and treasures are being damaged very quickly. We can also take advantage of this opportunity to develop." But soon after, Zhu Xiaofeng said somewhat uncertainly, "However, Lu Shidi, are you really not intending to put all your efforts into developing body cultivation in the first 100 years? Lu Kuan said affirmatively, "That's right. I have told several senior brothers the reason. If the strength of the body cultivation is discovered by the Red Refining Sect, then their disciples who recultivate the red blood demonic technique will definitely treat us as precious human-shaped elixirs and even raise us in captivity." Lu Kuan said again, "The main reason is that our strength is too weak. Zhao, Qingtian, and the others are still in the qi refining stage. After 100 years, they should all become body cultivators in the foundation establishment stage. In this case, their disguise ability will greatly increase, and they can also secretly recruit some disciples. At that time, their strength is not weak. Ordinary cultivators in the foundation establishment stage are not their opponents. Moreover, the number of core formation stage cultivators in the red refining sect is not large. It is difficult to encounter them, and their safety is greatly improved." Zhu Xiaofeng listened to Lu Kuan's steady words, and his heart was slightly relieved. He continued, "In 100 years, Junior Brother may have reached the core formation stage. Junior Brother's current strength is much stronger than that of Marshal Uncle Nya. After the core formation stage, it will be even more unfathomable. At that time, other than the nascent soul stage old monsters in the red refining sect, the others will not have to be too afraid." Lu Kuan smiled bitterly and said, "Senior Brother Zhu, you think too highly of me. My future path is a blur. It is too difficult to cultivate to the core formation stage in 100 years. Zhu Xiaofeng shook his head and lamented, Junior brother, you are now at the peak of the foundation establishment stage. Your cultivation progress is much faster than junior brother Qin's. Moreover, you have only been in the foundation establishment stage for a few years. Hearing this, Lu Kuan looked at his own body. The mana in his body was surging to the extreme, comparable to a cultivator in the middle of the foundation establishment stage. Moreover, the strength of his body had reached nearly 70,000 pounds. So, in the year after leaving the Heavenly Talisman Pavilion, Lu Kuan had been using middle-grade, top-grade talismans. Body tempering, the strength of his bones was slowly increasing. In the Heavenly Talisman Pavilion, other than the 30 top-grade talismans he bought at the beginning, other than that, he also used the Jade Wave Nimble Sword and the Water Fairy of the Heavenly Talisman sect to exchange for a few top-grade talismans and a freezing talisman, along with each top-grade talisman. With the disappearance of the talismans, Lu Kuan's progress in bone tempering gradually slowed down. After all the talismans were used up, he was still a step away from the peak of the foundation establishment stage. Lu Kuan gritted his teeth and used the freezing talisman. However, he did not expect the freezing talisman to be so terrifying. If he had not used the giant arm theurgy and swallowed the last chi and blood pill to block part of the freezing talisman's power and increase his recovery speed, he might have been killed by the freezing talisman. The bone-chilling coldness was not something his current physical body could withstand. Fortunately, he managed to pull through in the end. His bones were filled with liquid mana, and the amount of mana had reached the peak of the foundation establishment stage. However, Lu Kuan was not happy at all. The freezing talisman was used up, and the last chi and blood pill was swallowed by him. It could be said that these two methods that he had prepared to break through to the foundation establishment stage were gone. Senior apprentice brother, although I have reached the peak of the foundation establishment stage, I have no clue how to break through at all. I have no idea how long it will take. Zhu Xiaofeng laughed. Lu Shidi, no one understands the essence of your self-created technique better than you. I remember you once said that you have already derived the technique for the foundation establishment stage. Therefore, breaking through this small realm is absolutely not a problem for you. A light flashed in Lu Kuan's mind, and he muttered, That's right, I was thinking too much. Breaking through to the foundation establishment stage requires the body to be tempered. The foundation establishment stage also requires the bones to be tempered. However, breaking through to the foundation establishment stage does not require the body to transform. Letting Zhu Xiaofeng control the spirit shuttle, Lu Kuan lowered his head and pondered. According to my deduction, the foundation establishment stage mana is still liquid. The only difference is that the blood in the body also starts to contain mana. There is no need for the body to transform substantially. In the past, this layer of the Vajra esoteric art was to refine the marrow. It is only to let spiritual energy penetrate into the marrow cavity of the bones and slowly nourish the marrow. The marrow is the tissue of the spongy body. It cannot be roughly tempered like the bones. The outermost layer of the bones is the periosteum. Following that is the dense bone. These two layers are the hardest layer on the surface of our bones. It is also the place where I am currently filled with liquid mana. Further in is the marrow cavity and the cancellous bone. This is where the marrow is located. The marrow is where the human body produces blood. Therefore, what I need to do now is to let the liquid mana in the dense bone permeate into the marrow cavity and the cancellous bone. As long as the liquid mana fills the marrow, the blood cells will slowly contain mana. As long as I rush the liquid mana into the marrow, I will be able to break through the bottleneck of the foundation establishment stage. After Lu Kuan thought it through, his expression relaxed. This was actually very simple for him. At this time, what he needed was not the strength of the body, but the surging mana. As long as he had the support of dense spiritual energy, he could try to break through. Chapter 327. Zhu Xiaofeng saw Lu Kuan thinking for a while, and his expression relaxed. He knew that he had figured out the key point of the breakthrough, and he couldn't help but smile happily. After all, this junior brother was their hope for revenge. At this time, in their vision, some cultivators appeared one after another. Zhu Xiaofeng's eyes lit up. "Junior brother, we will soon reach the Abyss Island. There are more cultivators, and they look quite relaxed. I estimate that we are within 50 miles of the Abyss Island." According to the information we inquired, the Abyss Island has a rule that cultivators are not allowed to fight within 50 miles of the island. If they are discovered, they will be taken down by the patrol team of the Abyss Island. These patrol teams can even kill cultivators at any time. Lu Kuan had recovered from his thoughts. He nodded and said, "It is said that there is an elder council in the Abyss Island, which is composed of the nascent soul stage cultivators of the 10 major sections. In addition to the 10 nascent soul stage cultivators as elders, the nascent soul stage cultivators of the Daoyi sect are also the honorary elders of the Abyss Island. The cultivators of this patrol team are the disciples of the 10 major sections. Every time, there is a core formation stage cultivator leading the team. Even if the nascent soul stage cultivators fight here, they have to consider the Elders' Council." Zhu Xiaofeng took a breath of the thick spirit with the smell of the sea and said with some satisfaction, "The 10 major sects are the most profitable in the Abyss City. Naturally, they have to bear the responsibility for this huge island. In addition to the core formation stage cultivators, every cultivator who enters the island needs to pay spirit stones. This Abyss Island takes in hundreds and thousands of cultivators, and this island entrance fee is a source of income. Or apply for 100 years of residence in the Abyss Island and get the token of the Abyss Island, so that you don't have to pay spirit stones every time you enter and exit." Then Zhu Xiaofeng said with a bit of pain, "Unfortunately, this residence is just a pass. If you want to really live in it, you have to rent a cave house. It will cost thousands of mid-grade spirit stones for 100 years. The rental cost of the shop is even higher." Lu Kuan touched the storage bag and smacked his lips. "Fortunately, the 2 red refining sect disciples are not small. We have calculated before that these spirit stones are enough for us to live for 100 years. With the spirit stones accumulated by several senior brothers, we should be able to afford the rental fee of the shop for 100 years. Junior brother, that should be the Abyssal Island." Hearing this, Lu Kuan raised his head and looked ahead. Above the vast sea in front of him, there was a huge, hazy fog. Behind the fog, a huge black island could be vaguely seen. Soon, Zhu Xiaofeng steered the spirit shuttle to the entrance of the Abyss Island, the only place without fog, just like the other cultivators nearby. It was the first time that some of the cultivators had come to Abyss Island. When they saw such a huge island, they began to discuss spiritedly. Their words also reached the ears of Lu Kuan and the others. According to the records, the Abyssal Island is 100 miles long and 40 to 50 miles wide. The entire island is a huge spiritual vein. It can be called a treasure land for cultivators. Yes, if the rent for 100 years was not too expensive, I would like to cultivate here for 100 years. Then, I would be able to enter the Great Completion Foundation establishment from the middle stage of Foundation establishment. Spirit Chi is one thing. On the other hand, it is extremely safe here. Look at the fog outside. It is the legendary 5 elements primary light formation. This is a formation passed down from the Star Moon Pavilion from ancient times. It was set up with the cooperation of the 10 major sections. It is said that it can easily withstand the attack of a nascent soul stage cultivator. There's a law enforcement team of the 10 major sects inside. Even if you have many enemies, you don't have to worry in the Abyssal Island. Listening to the discussions around, Lu Kuan and Zhu Xiaofeng finally smiled. Here, the miraculous gate in the distant Wei Kingdom was no threat to them at all. After a while, they came to a relatively large coast. There were 2 entrances here. One was a protective wall formation. As long as one had a residence token, one could pass through the protective wall and directly enter the Abyssal Island. The other place was a passage that was glowing with spirit light. Lu Kuan and Zhu Xiaofeng threw 20 spirit stones into a magic tool basin at the side and walked in through the passage. After walking through the passage, their eyes suddenly lit up. What appeared in front of them was a very wide circular street. On the street, there were various kinds of shops and cultivators coming and going. They had already inquired about the internal structure of the Abyssal Island. The closer to the center of the Abyssal Island, the denser the spirit chi was. Therefore, the entire island was divided into 4 parts by 3 circular light curtains. The most central part of the Abyssal Island was the place with the most abundant spirit chi. The area was not large. Only nascent soul stage cultivators were qualified to live here, no matter how many spirit stones you had. Because of this, there were more than 10 nascent soul stage cultivators resident on the Abyssal Island. Even if the demon beasts in the deep sea attacked in large numbers, the Abyssal Island could hold on until reinforcements arrived from the inland. Beyond that was the inner area of the second ring. Most of the people here were core formation cultivators. Of course, there are also a few foundation establishment cultivators who lived here. As long as you could afford the high price of spirit stones, even if you were a chi condensation cultivator, you could still cultivate here for 100 years. After that was the area of the third ring. The spirit chi here was much thinner than the other 2 areas. Most cultivators lived here. The area of the third ring was very large and densely packed with countless cave residences. Although it was cheaper than the second ring, it was still not a place where ordinary foundation establishment stage cultivators could afford to live. As for the area outside the third ring, it was where all the trading shops of the Abyssal Island were located. It was also called the Abyssal Market. There was only one street in this market. The streets were connected to each other, forming a circular street. Some cultivators also jokingly called it the Ring Market. Lu Kuan and Zhu Xiaofeng were currently standing on this circular street. Zhu Xiaofeng's eyes lit up as he looked at the bustling ring-shaped market square. This is a place to do business. Such a big market square, if it was in the past, I would never have believed it. Lu Kuan also sighed. Yes, even at the temporary trading point of the sect war, I have never seen so many cultivators gathered together. Zhu Xiaofeng was full of expectations for the future. He pointed to a pavilion not far away and said, "Junior brother, let's go to the Abyssal Pavilion first. That is where we can rent residences and shops. Let's see if there are any suitable shops." The corners of Lu Kuan's mouth curled up into a smile as he said, "I'll leave it to Senior Brother Zhu to arrange." Senior Brother Zhu has been a peak lord for the longest time and is the most experienced in handling such matters. Otherwise, the other senior brothers wouldn't have sent Senior Brother Zhu and me here. Chapter 328. Looking at the 2-story building, Zhu Xiaofeng said in a low voice, "Junior brother, you don't have to say anything. Let me handle it." Lu Kuan nodded without hesitation. Previously, Qin Yushu and the others had said that Senior Brother Zhu Xiaofeng had rich experience in this aspect. Personally handling these matters would definitely not make any mistakes, let alone reveal the slightest flaw. After all, the news that they were the remaining disciples of the Yang clan could not be leaked. There might be cultivators in Chu who knew about the art of puppets. Zhu Xiaofeng straightened his back, lowered his chin, and squinted his eyes. He brought Lu Kuan and walked slowly towards the Abyss Pavilion. In that instant, his entire temperament changed. He changed from a good-natured fatty to a cold and aloof cultivator with a hint of arrogance. Lu Kuan felt that this senior brother, who had been in charge of the Morning Sun Peak for many years, had a majesty that was not inferior to martial Uncle Nya. In the Yang clan, the Morning Sun Peak's overall strength was the strongest. Zhu Xiaofeng suppressed the disciples for more than 100 years. After they walked into the Abyss Pavilion, they heard voices coming from one of the rooms. "Fellow Taoist Su, can you make an exception and let me stay in the third ring for 20,000 spirit stones for 50 years? Fellow Taoist, this rule was set by the Council of Elders. If you want to make an exception, go find a nascent soul stage cultivator from the Council of Elders. I'm useless. 30 years. Fellow Taoist Su, 20,000 spirit stones for 30 years. After all, 100 years is only 40,000 spirit stones. Fellow Taoist you. At this point, the voice stopped abruptly. It seemed that someone had used a sound barrier. However, Zhu Xiaofeng increased the volume of his footsteps. Soon, there was another voice coming from the room. The Council of Elders set a 100-year payment. Every time, we hand in 100 years' worth of spirit stones. Fellow Taoists should save up 40,000 spirit stones before coming. I won't send you off. Then Lu Kuan and the others, who had just walked out of the room, saw a gloomy old man walk out. This person was in the late foundation establishment stage. His cultivation level was similar to Zhu Xiaofeng's. The man sighed as he walked out. He didn't even look at Lu Kuan and the others. After Zhu Xiaofeng and Lu Kuan waited for the others to leave, they directly walked into the room. Inside the room was a man wearing a black robe with the symbol of an oval-shaped island on it. In addition, there was a large sand table placed in the middle. Lu Kuan could see at a glance that the sand table depicted the abyssal island. Most of the sand table was glowing red, and only a few areas were glowing blue. The black-robed man was still cursing in his heart at the person who had ruined his plans. In that situation, he had the opportunity to fill his own pockets. This person had to pay half of the 100-year spirit stones and only stay for 30 years. As long as he sold the remaining 70 years to other Foundation establishment cultivators who wanted to break through, then after handing over 40,000 spirit stones, the rest would be his. After sensing that someone had entered the room, the black-robed man casually glanced at the two people who had entered. His expression was slightly stunned, and he immediately walked forward with a smile. To be able to get such a lucrative job, the black-robed man was definitely a shrewd person. When he saw Zhu Xiaofeng enter the room, he realized that this person was not simple. Although their cultivation was similar, both late Foundation establishment stage, the temperament on his body was exactly the same as the managers of the top 10 sects he had seen. This kind of person often represented a certain sect, so he couldn't neglect him. Greetings, fellow Taoists. I'm Su Ming, responsible for renting cave residences and market shops on the Abyssal Island. May I know your names? Although the black-robed man was talking to the two, his eyes were looking at Zhu Xiaofeng, who was walking in front. Lu Kuan, who was only early Foundation establishment stage in his eyes, was directly treated as a follower. Zhu Xiaofeng didn't look at the black-robed man directly, but looked at the sand table in front of him and said casually, I'm Zhu Feng, here to rent shops and cave residences. Fellow Taoist, please introduce them to us. When the black-robed man heard this, he knew that his judgment was right. Without a foundation, ordinary Foundation establishment cultivators couldn't even afford to rent cave residences, let alone shops. So the black-robed man began to introduce. I'll start with the cave residences. Fellow Taoist must already know that the Abyssal Island is divided into 4 areas. The innermost area for nascent soul stage seniors is not open to the public. As for the other areas, as long as there are spirit stones, we can rent them out. The area in the second ring is second only to the nascent soul stage cultivators. The spirit chi here is very rare, even for core formation stage cultivators. So the rental fee for 100 years is 80,000 spirit stones. At this point, the black-robed man secretly glanced at the two's expressions. The red-robed man didn't show any surprise, but even the early Foundation establishment stage follower didn't show any surprise. This made the black-robed man have some guesses about their value. He continued to introduce, the spirit chi in the third ring is slightly weaker, but it's completely enough for most Foundation establishment stage cultivators. That fellow Taoist just now wants to use the spirit chi here to break through to the great circle of Foundation establishment stage as soon as possible, but we can only rent it for 100 years. After talking for a long time, the black-robed man noticed that the red-robed man in front of him was focused on the shops in the outermost area. He knew that the two were still interested in the shops in the market. He hurriedly said, Fellow Taoist Zhu, these are the shops in the market. We have 3 types of shops here. The lowest price is the small shops. They only have one floor, and the area is not too big. They only have a front hall and an inner hall room. The price of a small shop is 80,000 spirit stones for 100 years, the same as the area in the second ring. The second type of shop is the medium-sized shop. This type of shop has 2 floors, and the area of the first floor is much larger than the second floor. The price is 150,000 spirit stones for 100 years. Zhu Xiaofeng suddenly asked, "What about the last type of shop?" The last type of shop is the large shop. It has a total of 3 floors, and the area of each floor is larger than the medium-sized shop. Moreover, this shop also has a large backyard. The backyard can be set up with 7 to 10 rooms according to the requirements. Moreover, for such a large shop, we will also connect its formation with the 5 elements Yuan light formation of the entire Abyssal Island. Even nascent soul stage seniors won't be able to break through, greatly increasing the security. Of course, the price of such a large shop is also very expensive. It is 300,000 spirit stones. Zhu Xiaofeng nodded with satisfaction and said without hesitation, "Good. I want such a large shop." The black-robed man was delighted at first, but then he seemed to have thought of something. He immediately looked at the sand table, and his face suddenly changed. Zhu Xiaofeng narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "What? Fellow Taoist can't sell such a large shop?" The black-robed man smiled bitterly and said, "I almost forgot to tell fellow Taoists that not long ago, all the large shops were rented out." Zhu Xiaofeng's eyes flashed with a cold light. He didn't move and just looked at the black-robed man indifferently. However, Lu Kuan behind him sneered. His body emitted a suffocating pressure that pressed down on the black-robed man. The black-robed man unconsciously took a step back. Cold sweat flowed down his face. He never thought that the early Foundation establishment stage man behind him could give him such a strong pressure. It was as if he could easily kill him. He must be a core disciple of some big sect. Otherwise, how could he give off such a strong pressure? The 10 big sects of our Chu country have rented shops here. Could he be a big sect from another country? Chapter 329. After the black-robed man said this, Lu Kuan completely retracted his aura and turned back into an inconspicuous early-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. The black-robed man was even more in awe of Zhu Xiaofeng now. With such a powerful cultivator as a follower, how could his own strength be weak? "Why, this shop can be sublet?" The black-robed man wiped the sweat on his forehead and said, "Because good shops are very popular, the 100-year time limit set by the Abyss City is a bit too long for some powerful sects who want to get a shop. So under the coordination of the elders, the shop can be transferred. As long as the original owner of the shop agrees and the other party pays a transfer fee, they can own the shop in advance. After that, they only need to pay a 100-year fee." Zhu Xiaofeng said thoughtfully, "In other words, as long as I negotiate a transfer fee with this small sect, I can take over this large shop?" "That's right." The black-robed man seemed to have thought of something. He glanced at Zhu Xiaofeng and Lu Kuan behind him and said carefully, "But this small sect didn't offer a transfer fee. It's a bit different from other shops." Zhu Xiaofeng showed some curiosity and said, "Why? Don't they need spirit stones?" The black-robed man said, "You two should know that the Demon Island will appear in a year." Zhu Xiaofeng nodded and said with some indifference, "I was wondering why there were so many cultivators on the Abyss Island. I almost forgot about the Demon Island." Seeing that Zhu Xiaofeng knew about the Demon Island, the black-robed man continued, "Many core disciples of the 10 great sects have come to the Abyss Island. There are also many people who don't have a demon token. These people are either taking advantage of this gathering to sell some good things or trying their luck at the auction house. It is said that nearly 10 demon tokens were sold at the last auction. Many of the cultivators who won the demon tokens successfully entered the core formation stage after entering the Demon Island." Zhu Xiaofeng said thoughtfully, "It seems that the small sect you mentioned wants to use the demon token in exchange for the sublease of the large shop?" The black-robed man continued, "Yes, but this small sect also knows that the demon token is rare, so they promise that in addition to the sublease fee, They will also add 200,000 spirit stones as a reward. Generally speaking, the sublease fee is half of 100 years' rent, which is equivalent to 350,000 spirit stones for a demon token. This price seems to be the lowest price a demon token has ever been auctioned. Zhu Xiaofeng was silent for a while. He lowered his head to look at the sand table and asked, "Which shop is his? Show me." When the black-robed man heard this, he was shocked. In his opinion, the fact that this cultivator did not turn around and leave meant that he was extremely interested. Perhaps he even had a fiend demon token. Therefore, he pointed at the sand table and said, "Fellow Taoist Zhu, their shop is not far from the entrance of Abyss Island. It's right here. You can say that it's a prime location. This small sect has some skill in refining artifacts, so their business is quite good. Sadly, they are far too weak. Even today, they have no completion-level cultivators. This means they cannot make any treasures and sell them. Therefore, they want to seize this opportunity on Demon Island so that the only foundation establishment cultivator in their sect can enter the completion level." Zhu Xiaofeng looked at the location the black-robed man pointed at and was very satisfied. He asked again, "Has the demon token been auctioned recently?" After all, the black-robed man was a deacon of the Abyss Pavilion. He was well-informed and replied, "In 5 days, the Abyss Auction House will hold a large-scale auction. According to my information, the first batch of demon tokens will be auctioned." Zhu Xiaofeng nodded in satisfaction and said, "You can inform this small sect and have them prepare to transfer their shop. In 6 days, I will come again. At that time, we will trade at your place." The black-robed man suddenly understood something. He said in disbelief, "Fellow Taoist, are you planning to bid for the demon token in exchange for this shop? The demon token can create a core formation stage cultivator." Zhu Xiaofeng said disdainfully, "That's only for foundation establishment level cultivators with low aptitudes. For truly talented cultivators, the completion level doesn't need to be so troublesome." Then Zhu Xiaofeng walked out with Lu Kuan and said, "I will be here on time in 6 days. The demon token is nothing. The mission given to me by the sect is much more important." The black-robed man faintly heard the last sentence from Zhu Xiaofeng's mouth. His expression was blank, and it took him a long time to come back to his senses. He faintly thought of a possibility. Could it be that fellow Taoist Zhu has the legendary heavenly spiritual root? Rumor has it that the heavenly spiritual root doesn't need any bottleneck to enter the completion level. That must be it. Only such a cultivator wouldn't care about the demon token. I have to hurry and inform this small sect. The information between the two sides is not equal. I am in the middle and can definitely make a fortune. This small sect has been selling magic tools for so many years. They shouldn't be lacking in money." As if he could see countless spirit stones falling into his pocket, the black-robed man's eyes lit up and he walked out. At this moment, not far away, Lu Kuan saw that the black-robed man had left and formed a soundproof barrier around them. He said with some admiration, "Senior Martial Brother Zhu, this move of yours is still the best. Although I have the demon token, if we let others know so easily, they will definitely be suspicious of our origins. They might even investigate our origins. Now that we are the ones bidding for the demon token and even using it to exchange for the shop, he will think that our sect doesn't care about something like the demon token. Then he will definitely think that our sect is very powerful and has many core formation cultivators. Also, Senior Martial Brother's last sentence will make him believe it without a doubt." Zhu Xiaofeng laughed and said, "This is just to deceive people. However, to make him truly believe it, we will have to bring the demon token over in a few days. When the time comes, the person who bid for the demon token will definitely hide his identity. Therefore, when we bring out the demon token, Moreover, that guy just left in a hurry. He probably went to find that small sect to make some money. He got some benefits and was also intimidated by us. In the future, he will be able to save a lot of trouble for our shop." Lu Kuan revealed a slight smile and said, "That's right. Senior Martial Brother Zhu, I will bring Senior Martial Brother Qin and the others over in the next few days. After using one demon token, The remaining spirit stones will be enough for us to live in the Immortal's Cave in the third ring. And my disciples can also live in the backyard of the shop. Zhu Xiaofeng nodded and said, Junior Marshal Brother Qin and the others will definitely come. We will definitely go to the auction. Lu Kuan asked doubtfully, Senior Marshal Brothers, are you going to buy something? Zhu Xiaofeng didn't answer directly. Instead, he said, Junior Marshal Brother entered the Demon Island this time to kill that person. It was indeed very dangerous. We are the last Foundation establishment cultivators of the Yang clan. And Junior Marshal Brother is our biggest hope. We absolutely can't let him get hurt. Junior Marshal Brother Qin may have forgotten to tell Junior Marshal Brother Lu that he has been studying his own Wind Shadow spell and the Shangqing lightning controlling spell of the Shangqing school along the way. In addition to his progress in the art of refining, he has found a way to improve the set of magic tools of the Shangqing lightning controlling spell. He said that he might need some heavenly materials and earthly treasures. He needs to discuss the details with Junior Marshal Brother. Originally, we were a bit short on spirit stones. Now that we have the demon token, we have some surplus. We can go to the auction to try our luck. Lu Kuan said in disbelief. Heavenly materials and earthly treasures? Could it be that Senior Marshal Brother Qin wants to refine a fake magic weapon with me? Chapter 330. In the following time, Zhu Xiaofeng continued to investigate the situation in the circular market of the Abyss Island. Zhu Xiaofeng would use his specialty to deal with the major merchants. After all, if they wanted to do business in this place, they must first understand their peers who were refining tools. Although Zhu Xiaofeng was not in the refining peak, his refining skills were broad and profound. The disciples of other peaks were slightly involved, but they were not as specialized as the disciples of the refining peak. Therefore, Zhu Xiaofeng could see the refining level of the shops here. In addition to competitors, other shops also had to be understood. There was no conflict of interest, but there might be a cooperative relationship. Just the purchase of refining materials would be their major cost in the future. As for Lu Kuan, he listened to Zhu Xiaofeng and left the Abyss Island. He went back to find Qin Yushu and brought them back to the Abyss Island as soon as possible. It would take a lot of time to go and return. The coast of the Chu Empire near the sea was a vast plain. The concentration of spirit energy was not comparable to the central area of the Shiyuan state. However, there were 3 sects, including the Red Refining sect. On this plain, there were also the residences of the 10 great sects of the Chu Empire on the coast. From this, it could be seen that the 10 great sects had absolute control over the Abyss Island. Lu Kuan controlled the spirit shuttle and flew all the way. On the coastal plain, he spent a day and came to an inconspicuous mortal city. After using the simplest invisibility technique on himself, Lu Kuan quietly landed outside a courtyard. At this time, the courtyard door flashed, and the courtyard door had been opened. Lu Kuan sensed it with his divine sense and walked in with a smile. As soon as Lu Kuan entered, a small yellow figure quickly rushed to his shoulder, making a happy squeak. Junior Brother came back alone. Have you already settled the store? The one who spoke was an average-looking woman with abnormally bright eyes. Yes, Senior Sister Do, if there are no accidents. The shop will be rented in a few days. Then tell me quickly, how many spirit stones have we spent? Do we have enough left? It's a pity that the savings in the sect were robbed by the miraculous gate. Otherwise, we wouldn't be so short of money. When we are strong enough, we must take back the miraculous gate. A few drops of sweat appeared on Lu Kuan's forehead as he muttered, Senior Marshal Brother Zhu is right. Senior Marshal Sister Du has already recovered from the extermination of her sect and the betrayal of her good friend. Lu Wanji. Junior Brother, what are you mumbling about? It's nothing. I'm just saying that Senior Brother Zhu has basically settled it. Then tell me quickly. Every time that guy brags to me, I want to see what kind of tricks he has. Junior Sister, let Lu Shitty catch his breath. The one who spoke was Lu Xiao, who had just walked out of the room with a smile on his face. Lu Kuan's 5 disciples also came out one after another. Junior Brother is a body cultivator. Why would he need to breathe? Du Ruoqiao curled her lips. Lu Kuan shook his head helplessly. He looked around and asked in confusion, "Where's Senior Marshal Brother Qin?" Lu Xiao explained, "2 days ago, Junior Marshal Brother Qin seemed to have comprehended a cultivation method and went into seclusion. I don't know how long he will cultivate for." "Then let me tell you about the Abyssal Island first." Lu Kuan then told the others about the Abyssal Island. Lu Xiao said with some admiration, "Senior Marshal Brother Zhu is indeed experienced. He packaged us as the disciples of a powerful sect from outside." "Tisk, it's just a small trick." Lu Xiao ignored Du Ruoqiao and said to Lu Kuan, "Junior Marshal Brother, you came here to ask us to go together, right?" Lu Kuan nodded. Just as he was about to say something, a house in the courtyard suddenly exploded. A green whirlwind rotated in the center of the house, emitting a special magic wave, and rolled up the broken tiles and bricks. "Senior Marshal Brother Qin?" Lu Kuan could clearly see that in the center of this small whirlwind was his Senior Marshal Brother Qin Yushu. At this time, the small whirlwind outside Qin Yushu's body emitted the aura of wind attribute magic. Lu Kuan looked at this scene with joy. In his senses, Qin Yushu's aura was very similar to Nie Wufeng's when he was still in the foundation establishment stage. Compared to Lu Kuan, Du Ruoqiao and Lu Xiao were more excited. This is the aura of wind attribute magic power. Senior Marshal Brother Nie Wufeng's magic power was wind attribute magic power back then. Soon, the small whirlwind in the house disappeared. Qin Yushu, emitting a faint green light, slowly walked out. Although his magic power was still in the foundation establishment stage, Lu Kuan and the others clearly felt a stronger sense of oppression. "Lu Shidi is back. Haha, this time I have to thank you for the body refining lightning seal you talked about last time." Lu Kuan's eyes widened. He glanced at Qin Yushu's dantian and said in disbelief, "Senior Marshal Brother, could it be that you condensed the wind seal?" Qin Yushu restrained his magic power fluctuations and nodded with a smile on his face. "During this time, I have been studying the Shangqing lightning-controlling true chant. Coupled with Junior Marshal Brother's experience with the body refining lightning seal, I finally figured out the most crucial point 2 days ago. You have successfully condensed the wind seal in your dantian." The surrounding people all revealed surprised expressions. They all asked how Qin Yushu compared to Nie Wufeng. Qin Yushu recalled and said, "Master's wind concealment spirit root's ability is to improve the comprehension of the wind attribute. Right now, I have only perfected the wind shadow spell and finished transforming my magic power. I can barely release wind attribute magic like the wind spirit root. In the past, I relied on the power of magic tools and secret techniques to release the wind blade technique. There is still a big gap between me and Master." Then Qin Yushu revealed a sad expression. He took out a green jade slip and said, "But Master was prepared in the past." He recorded all the wind attribute magic he comprehended in this jade slip. I finally didn't disappoint him. I can start learning the magic on it. In addition, I have another harvest. According to the refining method of the Shangqing lightning-controlling true chant, I can modify the 5-feather Chinquan saber so that it can release the power of wind attribute magic power. Lu Kuan then remembered Zhu Xiaofeng's words. He asked, "Senior Brother, I heard Senior Brother Zhu say that you want to modify my thunder hammers?" Qin Yushu revealed a somewhat worried expression and said, "Junior Brother will enter the Demon Island in a year. It will be very dangerous. I have some understanding of modifying this type of strange, elemental magic treasure. And Junior Brother, your method of using magic tools is completely different. It needs to be modified into a magic tool suitable for Junior Brother. With Junior Brother's help, we might be able to refine a pseudo-magic tool." Lu Kuan frowned and said, "Senior Brother, although I don't need much divine sense to use magic tools, I can't avoid the requirement of magic power. Even if this pseudo-magic tool is refined in my hands, I'm afraid it won't be able to release much power." "Haha, Junior Brother, let's go inside and talk." Then, Qin Yushu said to the others, "Senior Brothers, please pack your things and wait for us for a while. I will discuss with Junior Brother and we'll be out soon." Chapter 331. After entering a room, Qin Yushu reminded him, "Junior martial brother, don't you remember that time in the land of death, when you and Xiao Jin joined hands and used a few broken talisman nails to block the attack of a low-level core formation cultivator's talisman?" Lu Kuan immediately understood Qin Yushu's meaning. He murmured, "That's right, just the material of the talisman itself can strengthen my attack. The difference between the material of a talisman and a talisman is like heaven and earth." Qin Yushu continued, "There's also that core formation cultivator from the Nine Spectres sect, Wang Shitong. After he returned to the Foundation establishment stage, he still used a talisman. Although the power was greatly reduced, it was still not something that ordinary talismans could withstand." Lu Kuan had used Wang Shitong's broken Nine Spectres claws to attack before, so he quickly figured out the key point. "Senior martial brother, you mean to refine my lightning hammers into a pseudo-talisman material with the internal array used for auxiliary power? This way, I could directly use a pseudo-talisman. As my transcendence energy increases, the power of the auxiliary array will increase." Qin Yushu's eyes lit up and he nodded excitedly. "That's right. Junior martial brother's current physical strength is astonishing. The power of the talisman activated by transcendence energy is already weaker than the power of the physical body. Raising the material to a pseudo-talisman level and simplifying the auxiliary array. This is a pseudo-talisman suitable for body cultivators." Lu Kuan also couldn't help but nod. He recalled the scene of Wang Shitong's attack and said, when Wang Shitong attacked, his transcendence energy activated the Nine Spectres' claws, which only increased its sharpness. This point combined with his strength could easily kill a late Foundation establishment stage cultivator. Then Lu Kuan took out his lightning hammers and said, "Senior martial brother Qin, I've studied this pair of lightning hammers from Zhao Jinong. It should have been refined by a master refiner from the Shangqing sect according to the blueprint in the Shangqing lightning-controlling true spell. There's a miniature lightning array engraved inside, as well as an array that increases the power of lightning and reduces the requirements of casting spells." Seeing this, Qin Yushu also summoned his five-feathered universe saber. "My five-feathered universe saber was jointly refined by Master and Martial Uncle Zhu. The magic array inside was researched by Master. It's a magic array that supports wind attribute magic, allowing me to release wind attribute magic. However, now that I've converted my dermic powers to the wind attribute, I can completely follow Junior Brother's lightning hammers method and carve a wind seal inside, as well as the strengthening array that Master developed. If that's the case, I might be able to borrow the power of this magic tool to release the wind attribute magic that Master created." Lu Kuan compared the two and said excitedly, "I understand now. I am a lightning-type mana, and I am also a Religion. The lightning strike in this thunder hammer is not of much use. Currently, the most helpful lightning attribute spells are the numbing power of lightning. My main offensive power still depends on my strength. Therefore, as long as I carve a magic array that strengthens the numbing power and adds a magic array that increases strength, I will be able to fully exert my attack power. I can also release lightning-type magic to increase its power." Qin Yushu said with a smile, "Junior Brother's lightning hammer is only a top level 3 psychic magic tool. With Junior Brother's dermic powers, there is really no way to use a combined attack. My idea is to combine the two lightning hammers into one and refine the material. Because they're a set of magic tools, after refining and combining them, the material will definitely reach the top state of magic tools. Junior Brother's divine sense carving technique must have reached a new height after carving the lightning strike. My divine sense has also reached the late stage of Foundation establishment after this breakthrough. With our combined strength, we should be able to carve a pseudo-magic treasure formation. Now, I just lack a lightning-type heavenly treasure that can carry a pseudo-magic treasure formation." Lu Kuan frowned and thought for a while, disagreeing. "Senior Brother Qin, since the lightning-type array inside the magic tool has been reduced, why use a lightning-type heavenly treasure? We should use a heavenly treasure that can increase my brute force attack." Qin Yushu immediately understood and said, "Junior Brother, you are right. But then the two remaining disciples of the weapon-refining peak had ugly expressions. They looked at each other and immediately knew where the problem was. Lu Kuan smiled bitterly and said, "Senior brother, in these 2 years, I have familiarized myself with all the weapon-refining techniques and psychic puppet refining techniques in the sect, including the many magic treasure refining techniques that Senior Brother Gu Tianjian left us. There is no description of heavenly treasures that can increase my strength." Qin Yushu also thought of this point and said, "There are countless materials in the immortal cultivation world, but Junior Brother's body refining technique has never appeared before. It is normal that there are no records of related heavenly treasures. If my inference is correct, this type of heavenly treasure can increase the weight of magic tools. The best way is to be able to withstand a transformation array. According to the amount of dermic powers of a user, it can become bigger or smaller. At the same time, the weight will also change. This way, you can perfectly unleash the power of Junior Brother's physical body. When it becomes smaller, the penetrating power increases just like our sword array. And when it becomes bigger, the weight increases, using force to break the technique just like a giant hammer." Lu Kuan immediately thought of a magic tool and said to Qin Yushu, "Senior brother, I remember now. There is such a magic tool. Senior brother, this is the cataclysmic seal that I obtained from a father and son in the late Foundation establishment stage. This magic tool alone can increase its weight according to its size and dermic powers. When combined, its power is even more terrifying. At that time, they underestimated me and only defended. So I used the cataclysmic seal's weight to heavily injure them." Qin Yushu said softly, "I remember this material. It seems to be called thick iron. This material can indeed be added to Junior Brother's lightning hammer, but it has not reached the level of a heavenly treasure. To activate a pseudo-magic treasure formation, you must use a heavenly treasure material." At this time, Lu Kuan's expression dimmed again. It was also at this time that Du Ruoqiao's exasperated voice came from outside. "Xiao Jin, you can use a set of magic tools. This is cheating. No, you're not allowed to use that pair of strange sticks. If you don't use it, you are definitely not my opponent." Lu Kuan slightly probed outside with his divine sense and smiled. It turned out that Du Ruoqiao wanted to test Xiao Jin's combat strength through her, who knew that the little monkey who had the unparalleled staff had the strength comparable to the late Foundation establishment stage. Du Ruoqiao was only in the middle Foundation establishment stage. Of course, she was not his opponent. Qin Yushu also noticed the situation outside and said with great emotion, "Junior brother, your body cultivation technique seems to be especially suitable for Xiao Jin. With the strength of a second-level demonic beast, you can easily defeat Du Ruoqiao, who is in the middle Foundation establishment stage. Truly amazing." "That's right, a heavenly treasure." Lu Kuan's mind suddenly flashed, and he laughed out loud. Then he looked at the little monkey outside the house. Oh no, it should be said that he looked at the 2 black sticks in the little monkey's hands. These 2 black sticks were mixed with the strange black stone that Lu Kuan brought out from the central area of the spiritual demon valley. It was this black stone that had long been the unparalleled staff. Lu Kuan suddenly remembered what Xiao Jin had said to him in the past. The central area of the spiritual demon valley had something related to their bloodline. Now combined with Xiao Jin's situation, this black stone was very likely to be that thing. Chapter 332. Xiao Jin, who was fighting with Du Ruoqiao outside, heard Lu Kuan's laughter. It suddenly felt an ominous premonition and subconsciously grasped the matchless rod in its hand. Du Ruoqiao saw the little monkey in a daze and began to nag again. "Hey, Xiao Jin, why don't you put away your weapon? Do you think that without a weapon, you're not my opponent? I am helping you increase your combat experience. No, it is bare-handed combat experience. You know, other monsters use their claws as magic weapons. You are now like this. Aren't you wasting the monster's own weapon?" Xiao Jin heard Du Ruoqiao's words and shrank its ears. Under its powerful hearing, Du Ruoqiao's voice was more powerful than the magic weapon in her hand. In desperation, Xiao Jin had to put the matchless rod into the storage bag at its waist and rushed forward with its yellowed fists. It used its actions to interrupt Du Ruoqiao's chatter. One person and one beast fought together. Qin Yushu, who was in the room, saw Lu Kuan so excited and immediately asked. Lu Kuan told him the complete experience in the spiritual demon valley, which made Qin Yushu amazed. Qin Yushu told Lu Kuan, in fact, not only the Wei country, but even the nascent soul stage seniors of other countries, and even the late nascent soul stage great cultivators, have come to the spiritual demon valley to investigate. With their powerful divine senses, there was no way to resist that layer of yellow demon fog. But I didn't expect that the strange divine sense attack that these powerful seniors couldn't do anything to could be resisted by Junior Brother's innate ability of the hidden spiritual root. This ability can be said to be much more powerful than my master's. Lu Kuan was stunned. After Qin Yushu said so, he knew that his hidden spiritual root ability was so powerful that it could make this level of divine sense attack useless. He thought to himself, my hidden spirit root has two kinds of divine abilities. The lightning resistance can be slowly strengthened according to my strength, but this divine sense concealment divine ability is already so powerful. If it is strengthened, what will it be like? Qin Yushu continued. According to your description, the black island in the center, especially the stone in the middle, is very likely to be the source of this strange demonic fog. Judging from the way Junior Brother used it, it should be some kind of natural treasure. Fortunately, Junior Brother has the ability to hide your spiritual roots. Even if there is something wrong with this stone, it should be fine. Lu Kuan used his divine sense to sense the little monkey who was happily fighting outside. His mind spun as he thought about how to ask Xiao Jin for this pair of unparalleled rods. Ever since he had obtained a few level 3 magical weapon hammers, he had not used the unparalleled rods anymore. The unparalleled rods were all for Xiao Jin to use. While Lu Kuan was thinking, Qin Yushu looked at the flipping sky seal that Lu Kuan put aside and studied it carefully. Suddenly, his expression changed, and he said, Junior Brother, the silver dragon flying ship is still with you, right? Lu Kuan came back to his senses and said, doubtfully, it is, but when we escaped from the land of death, it was destroyed by the 9 Spectres' sex core formation stage cultivator. As for how to repair it, I have no idea. But Senior Brother, why did you mention the silver dragon flying ship? Qin Yushu said excitedly, Junior Brother, now you have all the materials for the pseudo-magic treasure. Lu Kuan saw Qin Yushu staring at the flipping sky seal, and his expression changed. He seemed to have understood something and said happily, could it be that Senior Brother wants to use that to replace it? That's right. This way, the materials for the pseudo-magic treasure for body cultivation are basically complete. In the following time, Qin Yushu and Lu Kuan discussed in the room for an entire day and night. Lu Xiao, who was outside, was secretly anxious and felt that he couldn't make it in time. Qin Yushu and Lu Kuan walked out. Although they looked tired, everyone could feel the excitement between their brows. Junior Brother Qin, Lu Shitty, do you have the confidence to refine a pseudo-magic treasure? Lu Xiao asked excitedly and looked at them with a face full of hope. Qin Yushu said with a smile, that's right. I didn't expect Lu Shitty's refining skills to have improved so much in the past 2 years. Now, as long as the materials are suitable, we should be able to refine a pseudo-magic treasure with our combined efforts. That's great. If 2 Junior Brothers can refine pseudo-magic treasures, then our shop will definitely stand more firmly. Qin Yushu said, when our cultivation reaches the middle and late stages of the foundation establishment stage, the power of our spiritual senses will greatly improve. We can refine pseudo-magic treasures with single functions by ourselves. As long as we put a few in the shop, I'm sure more foundation establishment stage cultivators will come. Looking at the happy faces of Lu Xiao and Du Ruoqiao, Lu Kuan continued, but we spent so much time only discussing the pseudo-magic treasure at the beginning. Later, we mainly studied our silver dragon flying boat. Du Ruoqiao couldn't help but say, "Is the silver dragon flying boat more advanced than the pseudo-magic treasure?" Two junior brothers spent a full day and night. Qin Yushu laughed heartily. "Allow us to keep you in suspense. After we take down the shop, junior apprentice brother Liu and I will rush to produce a batch of magic tools in the next 3 months. In the following half a year, we will go into seclusion to refine body cultivation pseudo-magic treasures. When junior brother comes out of the Demon Island, he will definitely break through to the middle stage of the foundation establishment stage. His strength will be further improved," Du Ruoqiao said discontentedly. "Why are you keeping me in suspense? Junior brother Qin, come, quietly tell your senior sister what's different about this silver dragon flying boat. Also, junior brother, aren't you a body cultivator? How can you directly break through to the middle stage of the foundation establishment stage after entering the Demon Island?" Lu Xiao looked at the curious Du Ruoqiao and his junior brother, who had a headache. He quickly said, "By the way, you've been discussing for a day and a night. Let's hurry to the Abyss Island. I'm afraid we won't have enough time." Qin Yushu immediately said, "Yes, we won't have enough time. Let's hurry." After saying that, he took out his clear wind boat and called Lu Xiao and the others to board his flying boat. Lu Kuan took out his spirit shuttle. They divided into 2 groups and quickly flew towards the Abyss Island. In the circular market of the Abyss Island, near the entrance of the market, there was a large shop called Treasure Refining Pavilion. This shop had a total of 3 floors. It was the shop that the Deacon of the Abyss Pavilion said was for sale. In the circle of foundation establishment stage cultivators of the Abyss Island, this Treasure Refining Pavilion was quite famous. It was not only because the mystic instruments here were quite exquisite and convenient to use. Another reason was that there was a pseudo-magic treasure here. It was said that it was refined by a foundation establishment blacksmith grandmaster of the Treasure Refining Pavilion. If this blacksmith grandmaster could refine pseudo-magic treasures, how could the other magic treasures be inferior? At this time, there were many cultivators choosing mystic instruments in the Treasure Refining Pavilion. The first floor was filled with ordinary level 1 psychic instruments, as well as some top-grade mystic instruments and flying mystic instruments for the Qi refining stage. The second floor was filled with level 2 and above psychic instruments, as well as various sets of psychic instruments of different powers. On the third floor of the Treasure Refining Pavilion, there were only 3 cultivators sitting in a small hall. Among them, there was a haggard old man sitting in the main seat. This old man's body exuded a faint tyrannical aura. It seemed that he was at the core formation stage. However, looking at his dim and dispirited expression, it seemed that his lifespan was nearing its end. Below him sat a man and a woman. Their aura was not weak. Both of them were at the great circle of foundation establishment stage. The man was tall, bronze-skinned, and had a resolute face. He looked very steady. The aura on his body carried a scorching heat. It was obvious that he cultivated some kind of powerful fire attribute cultivation method. The other woman was tall and slender, almost as tall as the man beside her. She had a sweet appearance, and her entire body exuded a fresh aura. Any cultivator familiar with the wood attribute would know that this woman's cultivation technique specialized in the wood attribute. Who knew that after the core disciples of the 10 great sects advanced to core formation stage, their strength will be far greater than mine. AI. It was at that time that my spiritual sense was heavily injured by the ghost spirit sect's core disciples. When the man and woman below heard this, they secretly clenched their fists, their eyes flashing with hatred. The old man glanced at his 2 disciples and said, "You 2 are not allowed to take revenge. 300 years have passed, and that person is now a nascent soul cultivator. Your revenge is like a mantis trying to stop a chariot." When the old man saw the stubborn expression of his two disciples, he sighed and said, "What I want to tell you this time isn't about the demon Devil Island, but rather a secret of our sect." The man and woman below looked at each other in dismay, not knowing why their master was only telling them this now. The man revealed a pensive expression while the woman didn't understand. She directly asked, "Master, wasn't our treasure refining pavilion established after you accepted us?" The old man revealed nostalgic expression and said, "Although I established it, I was a vagrant cultivator. How could I have the resources and techniques to establish a sect? I even rented a large store here. Your tool refinement techniques are far superior to mine. You must have already felt that our sect's tool refinement techniques are different from the other sects in the state of Chu. The tools refined using our sect's tool refinement techniques are 1 or 2 times better than the tools refined by other sections. Therefore, our treasure refining pavilion's business is quite good. And this 1 or 2 times better is just within the acceptable range of the top 10 sects and other small sections. In addition, we give a lot of spirit stones to the elders every year, so we can survive until now. Otherwise, we would have been destroyed by other sects, and our tool refinement techniques would have been taken away." Seeing that the two disciples revealed a pensive expression, the old man continued, "But do you know where my tool refinement techniques came from?" The woman was extremely surprised and said, "Could it be that this tool refinement technique wasn't created by you, Master?" The old man shook his head and said, "If I could create something like this, I wouldn't have been a vagrant cultivator. In fact, more than 300 years ago, I was accepted as a disciple by a senior. He taught me cultivation techniques and tool refinement techniques. Even my demon token was given to me by this senior. Also, the True Yang Raging Flame technique and green essence with spiritual technique that you cultivate, as well as the cultivation techniques of other disciples, and the spirit stones used to buy large shops, were all given to me by him." The man and woman below looked at each other. The calm man suddenly said, "Our cultivation techniques can be cultivated to the nascent soul stage." Could it be that Senior is a nascent soul stage cultivator? The old man sighed and said, "He is indeed a nascent soul stage cultivator. Moreover, he is the leader of a cultivation sect. The tool refinement techniques that he taught me are only the most basic part in his eyes. The reason why he taught me the tool refinement techniques and gave me the demon token and some spirit stones is that his sect has a backup plan overseas. In case the sect is destroyed, there is a place where we can start again." The sweet-looking woman asked, "Could it be that Senior's sect is not from the Chu country?" The old man nodded and said with a somewhat depressed expression, "This Senior's surname is Fong. He is the ancestor of the Yang clan in the Wei country." The man sitting in the hall changed his expression and said, "Could it be the Yang clan that was rumored to have been annihilated a while ago?" The old man's turbid eyes flashed with grief, and he said, "I received the news a few years ago and specially went out to investigate. I heard that only a few inconspicuous Foundation establishment disciples escaped. Ancestor Fong and the core formation cultivators of the Yang clan, as well as hundreds of Foundation establishment disciples, were all annihilated by the miraculous gate. It is said that on that day, there was even a late nascent soul stage cultivator. The Yang clan can be said to have been completely annihilated." The male and female disciples revealed a somewhat shocked expression. The old man coughed lightly and said, "I only have half a year left to live. I have a last wish. You must agree to it. Master, our lives are yours. Your last wish is our mission." The old man said, "Actually, it's nothing much. After coming out this time, you've most likely entered the core formation stage. If you encounter the remaining disciples of the Yang clan, help them if you can. In the vast immortal cultivation world, it's hard to say if those disciples can survive." The man said, "Master, but how can we recognize that they're the disciples of the Yang clan?" Spiritual light flashed in the old man's hand, and a fiery red token appeared. It was only the size of palm. The front was engraved with the words Yang clan, and the back was engraved with the words Weapon Refining Peak. No one can imitate the token of the Yang clan. With your weapon refining skills, As long as you take the token of the other party and check it, you will know. The man and woman at the peak of Foundation establishment agreed. The calm man took the token and put it in his storage bag. Next, prepare your weapon well. If you can use it together, you will have some power to protect yourself on the Demon Island. Chapter 334. On the Abyss Island, there was a huge 3-story pavilion on the easternmost side of the circular market. It was the size of 3 large shops. Not only were the walls outside the pavilion covered with restrictions, but there was also a huge mural carved on it. The mural was colorful and seemed to have used some kind of illusion technique. There were all kinds of demon beasts carved on it. They looked very lifelike. Opposite the demon beasts, there were many heroic and extraordinary cultivators. They were using all kinds of magic tools and magic treasures to suppress the demon beasts. Above the mural, there was a huge plaque with the words Abyss Auction House carved on it. There was also a picture of an oval-shaped island at the bottom left corner of the plaque, indicating that this was the property of the Abyss Islands Council of Elders. At this time, there were 2 men standing outside. They were Lu Kuan and Zhu Xiaofeng. They wore masks on their faces, concealing their appearances. Not only them, but many cultivators who entered and left the auction house used all kinds of methods to conceal their identities. Zhu Xiaofeng looked at the mural through the mask and said with some emotion, "The battle between humans and sea demon beasts must have been very tragic. The mural here must be the battle for the sea area of the Abyss Island." Lu Kuan didn't seem to hear Zhu Xiaofeng's words. Instead, he stared blankly at a corner of the mural. Zhu Xiaofeng saw this and looked curiously at the mural. Only then did he realize that Lu Kuan was staring at an ape-type demon beast with black hair in the mural. This ape's body was extremely strong, and the muscles on its chest were incomparably huge. In the mural, it was using its 2 fists to resist the cultivator's magic tools. "Junior brother, look at this ape. Is it the same kind of demon beast as Xiao Jin?" Lu Kuan muttered a few words and shook his head. "It looks a little similar, but it shouldn't be." "I think so too. Xiao Jin is not an ordinary demon beast. It's about time. Junior brother, let's go in first." After saying that, Zhu Xiaofeng took the lead and walked towards the magnificent pavilion. He probably didn't know that when Lu Kuan said that it looked familiar, he didn't mean that it looked similar to Xiao Jin, but looked similar to the golden ape in his mind. However, the ape on the mural was covered in black hair, and the ratio of its arms to its body was also different. It shouldn't be the race of the giant golden apes. As for Xiao Jin, that was even more impossible. That was because Xiao Jin had cultivated his body refinement art to become strong. Fellow Taoists, each of you will have to pay a mid-grade spirit stone in order to exchange for an entrance pass. Please forgive me. As Lu Kuan and Zhu Xiaofeng walked forward, several cultivators dressed in black robes handed out admission cards at the entrance. One of them said to Lu Kuan and Zhu Xiaofeng. Zhu Xiaofeng looked at the simple copper token and snorted coldly. Spirit light flashed in his hand, and an extremely exquisite golden token appeared. The face of the cultivator who spoke changed. He immediately put on a flattering smile and said, "So it's a distinguished guest. Forgive my rudeness. Please come in. Xiao Chui, lead the 2 seniors to the 2nd floor and choose a private room." Then, a sweet-looking woman wearing a long green dress came out from the back. She respectfully led Lu Kuan and Zhu Xiaofeng to the 2nd floor from the side stairs. Lu Kuan looked at the woman and realized that this auction house was truly worthy of being co-founded by the 10 great sects. Even the ordinary woman in front of him was at the peak of the Qi refinement stage. Seniors. Only seniors with VIP tokens can enter the boxes on the 2nd floor. Each of our boxes has a one-way divine sense defensive array. Even a late core formation stage divine sense cultivator would not be able to detect the situation in your box. However, your divine sense can penetrate the box and see the auction situation on the 1st floor. There are a total of 20 boxes on the 2nd floor. Boxes 6, 7, and 12 are still empty. Which one would you like to choose? Let's go to room 12. The woman named Xiao Chui quickly led Lu Kuan and Zhu Xiaofeng to a box on the north side of the second floor. She said, "This box's array can only be activated with Senior's VIP token. Once it's activated, Senior can freely control the array inside." Seeing that Zhu Xiaofeng had successfully activated the golden token, the woman's expression became even more respectful. She bowed and said, "Seniors, my name is Xiao Chui. I will be waiting at the door. If you need anything, just call me with your divine sense." Seeing that the two nodded, the woman named Xiao Chui left the box. Lu Kuan and Zhu Xiaofeng carefully used their divine sense to inspect the box's array. They found that in addition to blocking divine sense, the array also had a strong defensive power. Judging from its strength, it should be able to withstand the attack of a core formation stage cultivator. This made them show some admiration. Lu Kuan said, "To block the divine sense of a core formation stage cultivator and have such a strong defensive power, the value of this array is definitely not small. When I was in the Shiyuan state, I heard that the 8th ranked Star Moon Pavilion is proficient in all kinds of arrays. Just like the 10th ranked Heavenly Talisman sect, they specialize in one skill. I think this array was created by them." Zhu Xiaofeng thought for a while and sighed. The last two of the 10 great sects of Chu are like our Yang clan. They specialize in immortal cultivation, but the strength of their sects is much stronger than ours. It seems that our Yang clan's previous strategy was completely wrong. Unfortunately, although Ancestor Fong noticed it, before the new decree could take effect, our sect met with a great disaster. Lu Kuan remembered the scene when Ye Wufeng invited him to join the crafting peak. It was also at that time that the new disciples with excellent aptitudes in the sect were given priority to the other peaks. He comforted Zhu Xiaofeng, senior martial brother. "Now we all know the importance of strength. Crafting tools is a way for us to earn resources. The final goal is still to improve our strength. Senior martial brother Zhu, your cultivation is the most profound among us. After cultivating in the Abyss Island for more than 10 years, you should reach the peak of foundation establishment. At that time, we will definitely support you to form your gold core." Zhu Xiaofeng shook his head violently and said, "Junior martial brother Lu Xiao and I don't have good aptitudes. Even if we have enough resources, our chances of forming our gold core are not high. Junior martial brother Lu Xiao and I have the same idea. We will give priority to you and junior martial brother Qin." Junior martial brother Qin has built his foundation using the ancient foundation establishment method. His chances of forming his gold core are much higher. With our resources, as long as he reaches the peak of foundation establishment, his chances of forming his gold core can be said to be 60 to 70%. It is comparable to those cultivators who entered the Demon Island. Junior martial brother, we all know your fighting strength. Even the peak foundation establishment core disciples of the 10 great sects may not necessarily be your match. When you reach the peak of foundation establishment, I'm afraid you will be able to match core formation cultivators." Lu Kuan said, somewhat uncertainly, "Core formation cultivators are too strong. Even Martial Uncle Nye couldn't directly contend against a core formation cultivator's magic weapon. That's because Martial Uncle Nye almost never uses weapons. If Junior Martial Brother successfully refines your pseudo-magic weapon, it will be different." Hearing this, Lu Kuan thought of Qin Yushu and his plan. He felt that there was a possibility. "Senior Martial Brother Qin and I have already found the materials to refine our pseudo-magic weapon. Therefore, we came to the auction house this time only to conceal the origin of our demon token. We almost didn't need to spend any spirit stones. But if blood-clotting grass appears, Junior Martial Brother will bid for it." Chapter 335. Then Lu Kuan thought of something and said, "By the way, senior brother, this VIP token was given by Su Ming of the Abyss Pavilion. Will he find out that we don't have anything to bid through the auction house?" Zhu Xiaofeng smiled and said, "Don't worry, junior brother. When you went back to pick up junior brother Qin and the others, I've already investigated this place. The rules of this Abyss auction house are very strict. The cultivators who are in charge of this place have already sworn a divine sense oath that they will never reveal the information of the bidders to the outside world. After all, the cultivators here are all kinds of people. If they can reveal their identity to the outside world, then there will be scenes of killing and robbing around the Abyss Island. The Abyss Elder Council is very clear that the biggest enemy here is the demon beasts in the deep sea region. Although the humans have arranged the sea region perfectly, the demon beasts may come back at any time. Lu Kuan was slightly relieved and said, "It seems that Su Ming of the Abyss Pavilion is quite good at dealing with people. This VIP token is something he gave us in return." Zhu Xiaofeng smiled and said, "That's right. We applied for the residency rights of 10 people at once and rented 5 cave residences in the third ring for 100 years. In addition to the shop that is about to be rented, this is more than 500,000 spirit stones. Even our martial uncle of the Yang clan has less than this amount of spirit stones. In addition to the cost of the demon token in his heart, of course he has to curry favor with us. At least he won't offend us." The auction seems to have started. Lu Kuan looked at the situation in the hall below from the corner of his eye. He and Zhu Xiaofeng looked at the hall on the first floor through the transparent array of the box window. At this time, a woman in a fiery red robe with a proud figure appeared on the auction stage on the first floor. She exuded the aura of the great circle of Foundation establishment. "Hey, isn't this the Fire Lady?" Zhu Xiaofeng was puzzled and said, "Junior brother, you know this fellow Taoist?" "Yes, this is the core disciple of the Heavenly Talisman sect. According to the information I found out before, she should be entering the Demon Island. I fought with her briefly. She has a fire attribute pseudo-magic treasure and many intermediate talismans. It's quite tricky." Zhu Xiaofeng nodded and continued reading. The Fire Lady bowed to the crowd and said, "I'm the Fire Lady of the Heavenly Talisman sect. I've been appointed as the host of this auction. I hope everyone can bid for the items you like." "Haha, so it's the Fire Fairy of the Heavenly Talisman sect's fire and water fairies. I've heard a lot about you. Fellow Taoist from the Heavenly Talisman sect is in charge. We can rest assured. The Flame Fairy is here. Do you have a lot of excellent talismans?" Auction. The Fire Lady smiled and clapped her hands. The first item in this auction is a variety of mid-grade, top-grade talismans. Regardless of whether it's for self-defense or offense, all of you will use it. Then, a few mortal women stepped onto the stage with small steps. They held a tray in their hands, and on the tray were various mid-grade, top-grade talismans. Under the arrangement of the Fire Lady, every talisman, they were all sold at an extremely high price. Lu Kuan looked at the fiery auction scene below from the private room on the second floor and said to Zhu Xiaofeng, "The Heavenly Talisman sect is much richer than our Yang clan. These top-grade talismans, they're considered consumables. The demand is greater than the supply. Every talisman, the Heavenly Talisman sect, is earning double the profit. Yes, but they're refining talismans. It also takes a lot of time. Although they have abundant resources, they can only be ranked last among the top 10 sections." Zhu Xiaofeng suddenly looked at the surrounding private rooms and said, "Junior brother, it said that only Foundation establishment cultivators are participating in this auction. Then, it's very likely that the disciples of the top 10 sects are coming. These people all have VIP cards. It's a pity that the formation here is too strong. Xiao Jin's divine ability can't penetrate it." In the following period of time, Lu Kuan and the others looked at the various Dharma artifacts, elixirs, and materials that appear below without any fluctuations in their hearts. Although the Yang clan had already been destroyed, Zhu Xiaofeng had seen many treasures in the sect. After all, the wealthy immortal cultivators of the Wei Nation would bring all kinds of treasures to exchange for the Dharma artifacts refined by the Yang clan. Lu Kuan had joined the Yang clan relatively late, but since he had reached the Foundation establishment realm, he had killed dozens of Foundation establishment cultivators and had a lot of materials and elixirs in his storage bag. As for mid-grade, top-grade talismans, he used them more. As for the Dharma artifacts that appeared here, Lu Kuan, who was about to refine a pseudo-Dharma treasure, didn't fancy them. Soon, the auction gradually came to an end. in a private room on the second floor with Lu Kuan and the others, except for a few people who bought some talismans. There was no movement from the materials, so Lu Kuan couldn't determine which sect the immortal cultivators belonged to. Suddenly, the hall on the first floor fell silent instantly, because all the immortal cultivators saw the items on the Fire Lady's tray. They were 3 black tokens with the word demon engraved on them. The Fire Lady chuckled and said, "Many fellow Taoists are here for the demon tokens. This time, everyone is in luck. There are a total of 3 tokens in this auction. Now, the auction for the first demon token will begin. The starting price is 150,000 spirit stones, and each increment must be no less than 10,000 spirit stones." As soon as the Fire Lady finished speaking, a cultivator below shouted, 160,000 spirit stones. I'll bid 180,000, 190,000. At the same time, the private room on the second floor also began to bid. A slightly hoarse voice said, 250,000 spirit stones. This male cultivator, who sounded rather old, added 60,000 spirit stones all at once. Soon, more cultivators below raised the price. This demon token was their hope of reaching core formation. Several Peak Foundation establishment cultivators' faces were red as they raised the price step by step. 260,000. 280,000. I'll take this demon token for 400,000 spiritual stones. Just as many immortal cultivators were slowly raising the price, a somewhat shrewish voice came from a private room on the second floor. The price of 400,000 spirit stones immediately fell silent. Lu Kuan's expression was somewhat strange. He felt that this woman's voice was somewhat familiar. When a Fire Lady on the first floor heard this bid, her expression was somewhat strange, but she still opened her mouth and said, "This fairy bids 400,000 spirit stones. For 100,000 spirit stones going once, for 100,000 spirit stones going twice." The Fire Lady deeply looked at a private room on the second floor and said, "For 100,000 spirit stones going thrice." Sold. Fellow Taoists who didn't bid for it, don't be disappointed. There are still 2 tokens left. Next up is the auction for the second one. Lu Kuan recalled the woman's voice and suddenly remembered who she was. That woman is the Heavenly Talisman sect's water fairy. I didn't expect that her spot in the sect would be taken by the Fire Lady. She actually came out to bid for one herself. The value of a talisman master is indeed very high. Zhu Xiaofeng curiously asked, "Junior Martial Brother, could it be that you've seen that water fairy before?" Lu Kuan told Zhu Xiaofeng about the situation that day. Zhu Xiaofeng clicked his tongue and said, "According to Junior Martial Brother's description, this water fairy's best magic tool was sold to her by Junior Martial Brother. Then she's much weaker than the Fire Lady. She'll probably be in some danger after entering the Demon Island. The water fairy has nothing to do with us, but everyone knows that this first demon token was purchased by a woman. Judging from the Fire Lady's expression, she must have recognized her junior martial sister. Don't worry, there are still 2 tokens left." Next, Zhu Xiaofeng and Lu Kuan were like passers-by as they watched the increasingly intense bidding. In the end, the 2 demon tokens were sold for 380,000 spirit stones and 420,000 spirit stones respectively. Strangely enough, one of the 2 tokens was purchased by a female cultivator. Only the one that sold for 420,000 spirit stones was purchased by a man with a deep voice on the second floor. Lu Kuan sighed with emotion. I didn't expect the demon tokens to sell for such a high price. 3 tokens added up to more than 1 million spirit stones. Chapter 336. On the second day after the auction, almost all of the Foundation establishment cultivators on Abyss Island knew about the price of the 3 demon tokens. They were all a bit speechless at this price, but no one was greedy, because they knew that those who bid for the demon token were most likely the smaller immortal cultivation sects and clans, or even the disciples of the 10 great sects who did not obtain the demon token. They didn't have the strength to face these people, nor did they have the clues to kill them for their treasures. On this day, in the Abyss Pavilion, there were 7 or 8 tables and chairs in addition to a sand table. For cultivators were sitting in the room. Sitting at the head of the table was an old man with a withered face. He was the core formation cultivator of the treasure refining pavilion. The other pair were his two-peak foundation establishment disciples. The calm male cultivator was called Yu Feng, and the sweet-looking female cultivator was called Song Ping Er. As for the last black-robed man, he was the Abyss Pavilion deacon Su Ming, who was in charge of the transaction. Su Ming looked at the old man sitting at the head of the table. His expression seemed to be extremely respectful, but he didn't have any respect for this old man who was about to pass away. At this moment, he was vividly describing the situation of the demon tokens in the auction to the others. The two mysterious female cultivators bought the demon tokens for 380,000 and 400,000 spirit stones, respectively. The last male cultivator bid the highest, a total of 420,000 spirit stones. Song Ping Er said with some disbelief, "You mean they spent 420,000 spirit stones to buy the demon tokens in exchange for a shop?" Not necessarily. Although fellow Taoist, Zhu only had one foundation establishment cultivator with him the last time he came, his background is not ordinary. Perhaps he has a senior or junior sister on Abyss Island. Yui Feng of the Treasure Refining Pavilion suddenly asked, "I wonder which sect fellow Taoist Zhu is from, to be willing to bid for the demon tokens in exchange for a shop." Su Ming laughed mischievously. To be able to not care about the demon tokens like this, he must be on the same level as the 10 great sects. Only those smaller sects or clans would be so obsessed with the demon tokens. For them, an additional core formation cultivator would definitely make a qualitative change in the strength of the entire sect and clan. At this point, Su Ming glanced at the 3 people in front of him. As if sensing his actions, the core formation old man coughed. This voice that contained the mana of the core formation stage caused Su Ming to be shocked. Only now did he realize that even though the old man in front of him had reached the end of his life, he was still not someone that a foundation establishment stage cultivator like him could afford to offend. If this old man were to kill him, he would suffer a great loss. Thus, he thought for a moment and said, "There is indeed an example of a demon token mobilizing a powerful family. I also heard about it from an elder in the sect. It is said that during the demon token auction 300 years ago, there was a clan that used all their assets to purchase a demon token. This clan's disciple did not disappoint. He successfully formed his gold core in 3 years on the demon island. That's not all. After this senior formed his gold core, his talents seem to have increased by leaps and bounds. In the past 300 years, his cultivation has been soaring, and he has already reached the original infant stage. Under the senior's leadership, 300 years have passed. His family has also developed rapidly, and several new core formation stage cultivators have appeared in the family." At this point, Su Ming sneaked a glance at the old man and realized that he was deep in thought. His 2 disciples were also clenching their fists, and their eyes were full of determination. Su Ming sighed in relief. Before, he was suspected of being sarcastic. Now that he said this out loud, he gave them hope. Instead, he encouraged them. The core formation old man suddenly opened his mouth and said, "You are talking about the ancestor of the Huang clan, right?" Hearing this, Su Ming was slightly stunned and revealed an awkward expression. He suddenly remembered that the elder in the sect said that the old man in front of him also formed his gold core on the demon island 300 years ago. The Huang clan leader was already an original infant stage cultivator. The founder of the pavilion of Lianbao formed his gold core at the same time as him. Today, he was still in the beginning stage of the core formation stage, and his lifespan was about to reach its end. From the perspective of this core formation old man, Su Ming's words seemed to be mocking the old man's talent. Fortunately, at this moment, footsteps came from outside the door. Su Ming's expression relaxed, and he hurriedly said, "It should be fellow Taoist Zhu and the others. I will go take a look." Then, as if his butt was on fire, he jumped up and ran outside. "Fellow Taoist Zhu is indeed trustworthy. It seems that you have successfully bid for the demon token." "Fellow Taoist, I have not seen you before. How should I address you?" A rather dignified voice came. "This is my other junior brother, Qin Shu." "Ah, fellow Taoist Qin has reached the beginning stage of the foundation establishment stage at such a young age. His talent is indeed extraordinary." "All right, fellow Taoist Zhu. This is the fellow Taoist who came with you last time. You have not introduced him to me." When Song Ping heard Su Ming's flattering tone, she couldn't help but get angry. She gritted her teeth and said, "That guy is mocking and ridiculing us. He's even fawning over early-stage foundation establishment cultivators outside." Yu Yifeng said in a low voice, "Ping don't mess around. If he is really a core disciple of a large sect, we cannot afford to offend him." Song Ping stomped her feet and shut her mouth in the end. Soon, Su Ming walked in with 3 male cultivators. The leader was a fat man in the late stage of the foundation establishment stage. He had an imposing appearance and had a rather dignified appearance. The other 2 were both early-stage foundation establishment stage cultivators. They seemed to be his junior brothers. Regardless of cultivation or appearance, they were rather ordinary. After the 3 male cultivators entered, they saw the core formation stage old man in the lead. The fat man took a step forward and cupped his fists. "So the person in charge of the treasure refining pavilion is a senior. I'm Zhu Feng. Greetings." When the fat man spoke, he was neither servile nor overbearing. His tone naturally showed the respect that cultivators of a higher realm should have. His bearing was extraordinary, and Yu Yifeng and Song Ping could not help but have a good impression of him. Seeing that the core formation stage old man did not speak, Su Ming said, "Senior Yu, other than fellow Taoist Zhu, the other 2 are fellow Taoist Qin and fellow Taoist Lu." The core formation stage old man continued to look at them without speaking. Just as Su Ming was secretly puzzled, a surge of magic power was emitted from the old man. The surging spiritual pressure pressed down on the fat man. "Senior Yu." Just as Su Ming was panicking, afraid that the core formation stage spiritual pressure would injure the fat man, the 2 unremarkable early-stage foundation establishment stage cultivators stepped forward at the same time, shielding the fat man behind them. Their bodies emitted a blinding green and purple spiritual light. There was also a faint sound of wind and thunder. At the same time, the 2 of them exploded with a divine sense that was not below the late stage of the foundation establishment stage. Wind and lightning attributes, mutated magic power, mutated spiritual roots cultivators. Such condensed divine sense. Yu Yifeng and Song Ping could feel the aura of these 2 unremarkable early-stage foundation establishment stage cultivators and couldn't help but gasp. Mutated spiritual roots cultivators were extremely strong in battle. They were definitely talents that cultivation sects would fight for. Moreover, these 2 people's mana was also of a xenogeneic attribute. This meant that they were practicing a rare xenogeneic attribute cultivation method. This kind of cultivation method was much stronger than what they were practicing. It was definitely something that only the top 10 sects would have. Chapter 337. After what seemed like an eternity, or perhaps only the blink of an eye, the core formation old man retracted all of his magic power. He looked like an old man with 1 foot in the grave, and his expression was rather downcast. On the other hand, Lu Kuan and Qin Yushu, who had just withstood the spiritual pressure of the core-bearing stage, turned pale. They tried their best to maintain the expression on their faces. From an outsider's perspective, they seemed to be unharmed. Sensing the elder retracting his spiritual pressure, they tacitly retreated, revealing Zhu Xiaofeng, whose expression did not change at all. Su Ming was shocked as he watched from the side. He muttered to himself, "I didn't expect the other cultivator with mutated spiritual roots to be so strong. They're only at the early stage of the foundation establishment stage. But Zhu Xiaofeng, who has a celestial spiritual root, is at the late stage of the foundation establishment stage." The core formation elder finally opened his mouth to speak. His voice was rather hoarse. "Little Zhu, please don't be offended. I'm nearing the end of my life. Seeing such an outstanding junior, I couldn't help but give it a try. Zhu Xiaofeng secretly broke out in cold sweat. When the core formation elder released his spiritual pressure, he almost made a fool of himself. Fortunately, when he was at the morning sun peak, he often faced Su Tianchuan, who was at the middle stage of the core formation stage and a level 5 silver-spotted leopard. The core formation elder gave him the feeling that he was much weaker. Coupled with the tacit cooperation of his two junior brothers, they helped him block most of the spiritual pressure. Thus, he did not give himself away. Zhu Xiaofeng gracefully smiled and said with respect, "Senior, you're exaggerating. We've already won a demon token. I wonder if the treasure refining pavilion's promise still stands?" The old man nodded silently and said, "Of course it counts." Zhu Xiaofeng's hand flashed, and a black token appeared. The front and back of the token were engraved with the words demon and demon. It was the demon token that Lu Kuan obtained from the blood refining sect disciple. "Yifeng, check it. If there's no problem, we'll complete the transaction according to what we said before." "Yes, master." Yu Yifeng took the demon token from Zhu Xiaofeng's hand and carefully checked it with his spiritual sense. At the same time, he channeled his spiritual power into it. A faint layer of spiritual light appeared on the outside of the token. After checking, Yu Yifeng nodded to his master, then took out a white formation plate and handed it to Su Ming. At the same time, he handed over a bulging storage pouch. He said, "This is the restriction formation disc of the Treasure Refining Pavilion and 2,000 mid-grade spirit stones. I want to exchange them for your demon token." Seeing Su Ming take the two items, Zhu Xiaofeng smiled and said, "Fellow Taoist, don't worry." Then, Zhu Xiaofeng said to the core formation elder sitting at the head of the table, "Senior, I spent a total of 420,000 spirit stones to obtain the demon token. What you're offering is only 350,000 spirit stones. That's equivalent to us spending an extra 70,000 spiritual stones. That's not fair." As Zhu Xiaofeng spoke, Yu Yifeng stared blankly for a moment. Suddenly, a ripple of magical power appeared, and a cool breeze blew through the room. Then, Yu Yifeng realized that the demon token in his hand had disappeared. When he looked forward again, he discovered that the demon token was already in the hands of the cultivator he suspected to have the wind spirit root. This made him extremely shocked. Although they were relatively close to each other, the opponent's magical power was so strange that he could snatch the demon token from his hands in a flash. If the opponent had used an offensive magical power, wouldn't I have? The pale-faced man subconsciously activated his magical power barrier. The woman beside him also activated her magical power. In a moment, the atmosphere in the room was tense. The Two Peak Foundation establishment disciples of the Treasure Refining Pavilion were nervous, as if they were facing a great enemy. Zhu Xiaofeng and the others, on the other hand, seemed to be playing it down. After a while, the core formation elder sitting at the head of the table said, "What little friend Zhu said is reasonable. As a senior, I can't take advantage of a junior. How about this? The large crafting furnace in the backyard and the earth fire that can last for 100 years can be considered as compensation. The combined value of these two items is not low." Zhu Xiaofeng was secretly delighted. On the surface, he nodded casually and said, "Okay, then we'll do as Senior says. Junior Martial Brother Qin, give the demon token to fellow Taoist Yu." Qin Yushu nodded and tossed the demon token out. Yu Yifeng caught it and put it into his storage bag, afraid that the other party would steal it again without him knowing. Seeing this, the core formation elder stood up and said, "Fellow Taoist Su, we've cleaned up the treasure refining pavilion. Everyone has left. As for the things in the backyard, we were planning to sell them later. Since it's like this, there's no need to worry about them. Yifeng, ping air, let's go." After speaking, the haggard core formation stage cultivator floated out. His disciple looked at Zhu Xiaofeng and the others with a complicated expression, then hurriedly followed the elder out. Under the core formation elder's lead, they quickly arrived at a cave in the second ring. Then, a restriction plate appeared in the elder's hand. The elder opened the cave, and the three of them walked in. After entering the cave, the elder stood in the courtyard for a long time. Then he sighed heavily and said, I already guessed that they would use the demon token that they won at a high price to ask for other things. That's why I came out with you. I wanted to use the rich mana of the core formation stage to suppress their arrogance. It's a pity that I can't use my spiritual sense. Otherwise, with the core formation stage's spiritual sense and mana, even if their strength is extraordinary, they would still suffer some internal injuries. I didn't think that the three of them would be so strong. Yue Feng recalled the two foundation establishment stage cultivators and couldn't help but ask, Master, are the core disciples of the big sects really that strong? I feel that if these two cultivators with different spiritual roots join forces, they could definitely match me. But they're only in the foundation establishment stage. There's a gap of several stages between us. The core formation elders said, from what I can sense, that Rellingan Brat has a strong killing intent. Many cultivators of the same level have died in his hands. His combat ability is slightly stronger. As for the other cultivator with the wind spiritual root, from the way he took the demon token in your hand, you can tell that his wind attribute magic is extremely mysterious. Even with my insufficient spiritual sense, I couldn't detect his actions. Then, the elder frowned and continued. As for that Zhu Feng, although I didn't use my spiritual sense to investigate, I feel that he's just an ordinary late foundation establishment stage cultivator. But he can make two cultivators with mutated spiritual roots follow him. I can imagine that Zhu Feng is not simple. Combined with the temperament he showed before, he should be the core disciple of a big sect in the foundation establishment stage. Song Ping was a little dazed. She muttered, then isn't his strength much stronger than ours? The elders said seriously, that's right. The foundation establishment stage disciples of the top 10 sects who entered the Demon Island are all stronger than you. If you encounter them alone, the chances of you dying are very high. That's right. How's your cultivation of the pseudo-magic treasure that you refined? Can you use it together? Yue Feng revealed a somewhat ashamed expression and said, Ping-er, and I can barely use it. We can't use it to attack the enemy. Then for the remaining year, you should cultivate well in my cave. Don't slack off. Chapter 338. Fellow Taoist Jew, I've already checked the shop's restriction token. There's no problem, and I've also engraved Fellow Taoist Zhu's magic power imprint and information on it. Please keep this bag of spirit stones. Su Ming said in a fawning tone. Zhu Xiaofeng nodded and said, Can we go directly to the shop now? Of course, no problem. Come, I'll take you guys there and tell you about the shop. Su Ming seemed to be very enthusiastic and took the lead to walk out. Taking advantage of this, Qin Yushu secretly put a medicinal pill in his mouth and followed behind Zhu Xiaofeng. He had just faced the mana pressure of a core formation cultivator. Under the turbulence of his mana, he still suffered some minor injuries. Luckily, his Vajra Esoterica was not in vain. His defensive power was quite strong, and he was able to control his injuries for a while. He took the opportunity to take a healing medicinal pill and relieve some of his injuries. Qin Yushu's injuries were not serious, and Lu Kuan's defensive power was much stronger than his. Other than his face being slightly pale, there was nothing wrong with his body. It was also because of their performance that Su Ming firmly believed in their origins. Seeing Su Ming's increasingly respectful attitude, Lu Kuan and Qin Yushu couldn't help but feel that their forceful resistance to the core formation cultivator's spiritual pressure was not in vain. The Abyss Pavilion was not far from the shop of the core formation cultivators. Along the way, under Su Ming's fawning, they quickly arrived at the closed treasure refining pavilion. Zhu Xiaofeng activated the formation plate and opened the closed restriction. Under the curious gazes of the cultivators on the street, they walked into the shop. Wasn't that fellow Su from the Abyss Pavilion? Is the treasure refining pavilion really closed? That goes without saying. A few days ago, the treasure refining pavilion started selling all kinds of magic tools at low prices. There must be some changes. Other than fellow Su, the others should be cultivators who accepted the treasure refining pavilion's transfer. I just don't know what kind of shop they will open. Sigh, without the treasure refining pavilion, I don't even know where to refine my Dharma artifacts after I reach the middle stage of foundation establishment. The other shops are either expensive or of slightly inferior quality. That's right. We often fight with demonic beasts. If the quality of our magic tools is just a little bit worse, and if they're broken by demonic beasts in battle, it'll be life-threatening. Fellow Taoist, if you want a truly high-quality magic tool, the Abyss Auction House is the best choice. After Zhu Xiaofeng and the others entered the shop, they immediately closed the restrictions outside. The cultivators outside could only wander around for a while before leaving. The lower two floors of the treasure refining pavilion were exactly the same as the other large shops in the market. As for the third floor, it was divided into 3 rooms, which were the abodes of some of the disciples. This caused Zhu Xiaofeng to reveal a somewhat pensive expression. A few days ago, he had investigated the market square and found that the other large shops would only receive cultivators above the core formation stage on the 3rd floor. Since the treasure refining pavilion left the 3rd floor empty, it was obvious that there were no items required by the core formation stage cultivators. In other words, the old man who was nearing the end of his life did not have the ability to refine Dharma artifacts. Or rather, he did not want to refine Dharma artifacts. Zhu Xiaofeng stood in the middle of the hall on the 3rd floor and pondered for a while. Suddenly, he asked, "Fellow Taoist Su, I've heard in the market that this treasure refining pavilion sells fake Dharma artifacts. Is that true?" Su Ming was slightly stunned and revealed a somewhat disdainful expression. He said, "I've heard about these fake Dharma artifacts a few years ago, but I've never seen them sell them. I'm guessing that they refined these Dharma artifacts by chance. Otherwise, with the high value of fake Dharma artifacts, normal master craftsmen would have refined them many times and earned a large amount of spiritual stones. Why would they hide them?" Zhu Xiaofeng's eyes flashed with understanding. He said, "Then let's go take a look at the backyard. I wonder how their crafting furnace is like." Then, the few of them went downstairs, opened the backyard's restriction, and walked in. They saw that it was a courtyard that was 7 to 8 feet long and wide. In the middle of the courtyard was a large furnace that was as tall as 2 people. Outside the furnace was a layer of defensive shield that was isolating the heat of the earth firestones inside. Fellow Taoist Zhu, the backyard of this large shop is connected to the abodes in the 3rd ring. Everyone can use the spell formation in the backyard at any time at night to quickly return to the abodes after dinner. It's very convenient. Zhu Xiaofeng ignored Su Ming. He lightly tapped on the furnace a few times, causing the shield outside the furnace to disappear. Instantly, a wave of heat hit them in the face. However, everyone was a foundation establishment cultivator. With a slight activation of the spell formation, they were able to block the heat outside. Qin Yushu walked forward and used his divine sense to investigate. He opened his mouth and said, "Senior brother, the earth firestones here can still be used for 90 years. It's not too far off." At the same time, Lu Kuan also said, "This crafting furnace should have been personally refined by them. It looks SOSO. It's just that the heat-gathering spell formation inside is a bit lacking." Zhu Xiaofeng was very confident in the judgment of his 2 junior brothers. He turned around and said to Su Ming, "All right, fellow Taoist Su, the shop is still all right. Next, we'll have to prepare for a few days and reopen." Su Ming sensed the professionalism in Lu Kuan's tone. Thinking about what Zhu Xiaofeng said to him before, he finally believed that they were also a shop that sold magic tools. "That's right, fellow Taoist Zhu. What name will you give the shop? I'll have to go back and record it later." Zhu Xiaofeng revealed a slight smile and said, "Let's call it Treasure Pavilion." Although Su Ming was puzzled as to why Zhu Xiaofeng and the others would give it a name that was similar to Treasure Pavilion, he didn't ask much. "All right, I'll take my leave first. If fellow Taoist encounters any trouble in the future, feel free to find me." "No problem. I'll help fellow Taoist open the restriction." Not long after, only the 3 disciples of the Yang clan remained in the rear courtyard of the treasure pavilion. They all let out a sigh of relief. Qin Yushu even closed his eyes and circulated his magic power to absorb the medicinal strength of the pill from before. Lu Kuan said to Zhu Xiaofeng. I didn't think that they would have a core formation cultivator. Fortunately, his lifespan was nearing its end and his magic power wasn't particularly stable. Moreover, he didn't use his divine sense, so we were able to barely resist. It's also fortunate that senior brother was calm and composed. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to extort this high-quality smelting furnace. Haha. Lu Kuan suddenly laughed loudly. Zhu Xiaofeng said doubtfully, high-quality smelting furnace? Lu Kuan said somewhat excitedly, that's right. When I came in, I discovered that this smelting furnace was a high-quality item. It should have been refined by that core formation cultivator. When I said it was SOSO, it was only for fellow Taoists Su to hear. At this moment, Qin Yushu also finished regulating his breathing and said with a smile, apart from the smelting furnace that Lu Shidi spoke of, the earth firestones below could be used for no less than 120 years. This transaction is quite worth it. If junior brother says so, then it can't be wrong. Haha, this time we didn't waste junior brother's demon token. That's right, this formation plate can be used to set up various kinds of formation spells. Junior brothers, please memorize them. Following this, Zhu Xiaofeng set up the formation spells on the formation plate. Lu Kuan and Qin Yushu memorized them. Finally, Zhu Xiaofeng put away the formation plate. Chapter 339. Soon, Lu Xiao, Du Ruoqiao, and the 5 body cultivators entered the treasure pavilion. Zhu Xiaofeng had already discussed how to operate the treasure pavilion, and had also assigned everyone their duties and tasks. The Yang clan had been exterminated. Apart from the other martial brothers, none of the elders were left alive. If they wanted to survive in the cultivation world, Zhu Xiaofeng's previous performance was completely useless. Therefore, their main task was not to make the store earn a large amount of spirit stones, but to produce a core formation cultivator as soon as possible. If the next core formation cultivator who came to test them was a cultivator at the prime of his life or a cultivator with a higher cultivation, then no matter how extraordinary they would be suppressed to death by his powerful strength. If they wanted to improve their cultivation by a large margin, they would need a large amount of resources. However, if this store produced many excellent magic tools and could earn a large amount of spirit stones, it would definitely attract the attention of others. When that time came, under the constant probing of others, they would be exposed sooner or later. When Zhu Xiaofeng first visited the store, he thought of a way. That was to keep the store as the treasure refining pavilion and sell some excellent magic tools. In the future, they would refine a fake magic tool to guard the store, but not sell it. This way, it wouldn't cause too much of a stir in the market, and it wouldn't encroach on other people's interests. Of course, this would be the same as the treasure refining pavilion. It would be very slow to earn resources. However, the difference between Zhu Xiaofeng and the treasure refining pavilion was that Lu Kuan and Qin Yushu were proficient in the art of refining. They could refine excellent immortal treasures and pseudo-immortal treasures. These immortal treasures and pseudo-immortal treasures could be sold at the Abyss auction house. As long as they were careful, no one would suspect that their treasure pavilion, which didn't even sell fake magic tools, could refine a large amount of excellent magic tools and fake magic tools. After that, Zhu Xiaofeng would be in charge of all matters related to the auction house. Moreover, Zhu Xiaofeng would stay in the Abyss Island for the rest of his time. Other than handling the auction of magic tools, he would cultivate in peace. If all went well, Zhu Xiaofeng would be the first to reach the great circle of foundation establishment. At that time, he could try his luck and try to form his core. Lu Kuan and Qin Yushu, as the master refiners of the treasure pavilion, would refine a batch of magic tools of average quality to prepare for the reopening of the shop. As for the fake Dharma treasures in the store, Lu Kuan would refine them after he returned from the Demon Island. Besides, it wouldn't be strange to take out a fake Dharma treasure a few years after the store opened. In the past, the Yang clan's Yuyang Peak Master, Du Ruoqiao, was in charge of managing the store. To put it simply, he was the shopkeeper of the store. Lu Kuan's senior martial sister was? Clothes? Lu square root gang? Play? Chi. Qian Chong. Tao Ping Ling Mao Huan. Search? Rustling, 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 rustling. Hydra? Busy? Yamu? Yutsong dagger crippled male tillering. As for Lu Xiao, he was younger than Zhu Xiaofeng, but his aptitude wasn't bad. He had learned a lot of refining techniques on the way here. Later, he would continue to learn the Yang clan's refining techniques from Qin Yushu. This way, he would be able to refine some common magic tools and help Qin Yushu with some of his work. As for Zhao Qin Tian and the other four, they would be taught refining techniques by Lu Kuan. It must be known that Lu Kuan's path of body cultivation could be said to have been comprehended from the Yang clan's refining techniques. In terms of refining materials, he had a unique method. Therefore, the furnace in a backyard would basically be used by the 5 youngest disciples. All the refining of basic materials would be completed by them. Moreover, when refining materials, they would be close to the earth fire, which could assist in tempering the body. It must be known that the deeper one's understanding of refining techniques, the more thorough one's understanding of the essence of body cultivation arts would be. In this way, everyone would perform their duties. While maintaining the operation of the treasure pavilion, everyone would have enough time to cultivate. As their strength increased, the treasure pavilion would also change accordingly. On the 10th day, since Lu Kuan and Qin Yushu rented the treasure pavilion, in the backyard of the shop, Lu Kuan and Qin Yushu both looked exhausted. Beside them were a mess of various magic tools, more than a dozen of them. Looking at the spiritual light, there were top-grade magic tools used by Qi condensation cultivators, all the way to level 3 spiritual immortal tools used by late Foundation establishment cultivators. However, these magic tools had relatively simple functions and didn't have a complete set. They could only be regarded as average. Lu Kuan wiped his sweat and said, "Senior Marshal Brother Zhu, according to their previous sales, these magic tools should be able to support us for a while. Later, Senior Marshal Brother Qin and I will return to the cave residence and go into seclusion to refine body cultivation pseudo-magic treasures together in preparation for the Demon Island." Then Lu Kuan said to his 5 disciples, "You guys have been refining materials non-stop these days. Your foundation in refining tools has improved a lot. You could try to refine some low-grade magic tools." Qin Yushu relaxed for a while and said, "Senior Marshal Brother Zhu, Senior Marshal Brother Lu Xiao has already grasped the basics of refining tools. Repairing ordinary magic tools and carving internal arrays are not difficult for him. In the next year, even if there are other situations, he can deal with them." Zhu Xiaofeng laughed and said, "Junior Marshal Brothers, you can rest assured and go into seclusion. Our treasure pavilion has just opened, so business is definitely average. These magic tools can support us for a year." Fortunately, Lu Shidi has so many materials in his hands. Otherwise, if we had to purchase dozens of magic tool materials at once, it would be a bit too much. Seeing that Zhu Xiaofeng had a plan, Lu Kuan and Qin Yushu walked out of the backyard. And this treasure pavilion, opened by the remaining disciples of the Yang clan, officially opened in the Abyss Market Square one day later. Sure enough, as Zhu Xiaofeng expected, their shop did not cause much of a stir. Because there was only one word difference between treasure pavilion and treasure pavilion, many cultivators felt that this shop was still the same as before. However, there were still some cultivators who were pleasantly surprised. They were the main customers of the original treasure pavilion. When they found that the magic tools in the treasure pavilion were of similar quality and price as before, they completely accepted this new shop. Lu Kuan and Qin Yushu did not care about the opening of the shop outside. They were looking at the pile of materials in front of them with serious expressions. Xiao Jin was sitting next to them and was looking at a pair of long black sticks in the pile of materials somewhat unhappily. Seeing the little monkey's expression, Lu Kuan could not help but smile. "Xiao Jin, didn't I tell you that I only refined part of the black ore? The remaining materials are enough to reforge a new magic tool, and this magic tool is tailor-made for you." Squeak, squeak. "Okay, I'll refine it for you in a while." Qin Yushu smiled and said, Xiao Jin, we originally planned to refine it for you first, because the structure of the new matchless rod will be exactly the same as a part of Lu Shidi's pseudo-magic tool. We have a lot of silver dragon meteorite iron, and there are 2 short ones that can help you refine the matchless rod. Next, Lu Kuan and Qin Yushu looked at the several silver iron pillar-like materials next to the matchless rod with shining eyes. This material was the main material of the silver dragon flying boat. Chapter 340. Regarding the silver dragon meteorite metal and the creation of the body cultivator magic treasure, it all started from their discussion a few days ago. That day, when they were in the room, they realized that the black ore was very likely to be a heaven and earth treasure, and thus they had the main material that could carry the pseudo-magic treasure formation. However, when they were choosing the material that could change its size and weight, the 2 of them had a new discovery. At the beginning, the 2 of them had planned to use the thick yuan heavy iron inside the heaven flipping seal as the material. However, at this time, Qin Yushu suddenly thought of the silver dragon flying ship. Lu Kuan also immediately thought of the silver dragon flying ship's characteristic of being able to change its size. At that time, he opened his mouth and asked, "Senior apprentice brother, could it be that you know the material of this silver dragon flying ship?" Qin Yushu did not directly answer Lu Kuan's question. Instead, he said, "Junior apprentice brother, did you read the latter half of the medium puppet technique?" Lu Kuan shook his head and said, "I only looked at the blood marrow powder section where the core formation stage puppet was refined. I did not look at the nascent soul stage puppet section. After all, the blood marrow powder that I refined as a supplementary material used the blood essence of a core formation stage cultivator. Even if I saw the latter part, I did not have the ability to refine it." Qin Yushu nodded and said, "That's right. The refinement of the latter part of the material all requires the means of a core formation stage cultivator and above. With our current Fa Li and divine sense, it would be useless even if we saw it." He continued, "I was also curious and looked at the nascent soul stage puppet section. Only then did I see the silver dragon meteorite metal material. From the introduction above, I knew that the silver dragon flying ship was refined from this kind of top-grade heaven and earth treasure." As Qin Yushu spoke, Lu Kuan's hand flashed with a spiritual light and released a half-damaged silver dragon flying ship from the small room. There was also a small pile of silver iron pillars and a few silver iron balls. This was the silver dragon flying ship that was destroyed by the core formation stage cultivator from the 9 Spectres sect when they were escaping death. A small half of the end of the flying ship had already disappeared, revealing the ports of a few iron pillars. Although the silver dragon flying ship's outer walls were damaged, the silver iron pillars that made up the ship were still incomparably smooth, without the slightest trace of damage on them. If one carefully compared the scattered silver iron pillars on the ground, one would find that if these scattered iron pillars were installed on the damaged silver dragon airboat, they could form a complete airboat structure. This is a top-grade heaven and earth treasure and earth treasure and earth treasure that is extremely rare. Heaven and earth treasure of the heavens and earth treasure. This is a top-grade heaven material and earth treasure the nascent soul stage puppet. It is a necessary material of core stage material. It's a pity that materials of this grade are extremely difficult to refine. According to the description of the sentient puppet technique, it requires a late nascent soul stage cultivator to activate a special type of flame to completely refine it into the main material of a sentient puppet. Our Yang clan hasn't produced a late nascent soul stage cultivator in the last 10,000 years. Therefore, even if we have a lot of silver dragon meteorite iron in the sect, we are unable to refine a high-level sentient puppet. Qin Yushu said with great regret. Lu Kuan suddenly said, "Then these iron pillars that make up the silver dragon flying ship should be half-finished products refined by the elders of the crafting peak using silver dragon meteorite iron. They are unable to be used on sentient puppets. In the end, they can only be refined into a flying treasure for the time being." When a late nascent soul stage cultivator appears in the sect, they can then be modified. That's right. The elders of the crafting peak are all geniuses. They were actually able to transform the silver dragon meteorite iron into a pavilion. It doesn't look very eye-catching outside the mountain peak. Who would think that the pavilion is made of heaven and earth treasure? Lu Kuan and Qin Yushu were silent in the room. They recalled the scene when Gu Tianjian cast the spell and the huge silver dragon meteorite iron flying ship continuously shrunk and transformed into this small flying ship. Ordinary Dharma artifacts, even Dharma treasures, would not be able to change their size in such a way. At most, they would be able to double their size through the use of Dharma formations and some special materials, such as the thick yuan heavy iron. The silver dragon flying ship was able to do this completely because of the silver dragon meteorite iron. The greatest power of such a top-grade heavenly treasure was the art of transformation. Under the control of the Dharma formations recorded in the sentient puppet and the Dharma powers of the caster, it could change its size and even its weight would change. Of course, the degree of change in size had a lot to do with the Dharma powers of the caster. Senior Brother Qin, these iron pillars made of silver dragon meteorite iron are top-grade heavenly treasures. We have no way to refine them at all. It is even more difficult to add materials to them. How can we refine a pseudo-Dharma treasure? Also, there are no late nascent soul stage seniors in the sect. How did they refine them into the silver dragon flying ship? Hearing Lu Kuan's doubts, Qin Yushu smiled and said, "Junior brother, you know about my 5-feather universe saber, right?" Lu Kuan said curiously, "Of course I know. This is the Dharma treasure that Junior Uncle Zhu and Junior Uncle Niem made for you. Then do you know its structure and composition? Isn't it just 5 flying dagger Dharma treasures that are fastened together through the special grooves on the tips to form a fan?" Lu Kuan looked at the smile on Qin Yushu's face and then looked at the way the silver dragon flying ship was assembled. He suddenly understood. The seniors of the weapon refining peak could not completely refine the silver dragon meteorite iron, but they could change the structure of the top. Every silver dragon iron pillar is inlaid with the head and the tail. In other words, these iron pillars have grooves that the seniors refined? Junior brother, why don't you pick one up and take a closer look? Without waiting for Qin Yushu to finish, Lu Kuan had already picked up an iron pillar that was as thick as the mouth of a bowl. He found that the iron pillar had a circular structure on one end and a concave groove on the other end. Not only this one iron pillar, but all the other iron pillars were the same. Lu Kuan then picked up 2 iron pillars, one long and one short, and connected them together. "Huh!" With a crisp sound, the 2 silver dragon iron pillars were connected together. Lu Kuan shook it a few times and found that the 2 iron pillars could also move freely. If the short iron pillar was the calf bone and the long iron pillar was the thigh bone, then the joint point was the knee. The only difference was that the calf bone and the thigh bone could rotate 360 degrees and move freely. This structure is also a structure found in nascent soul stage sentient puppets. Lu Kuan frowned and suddenly stood up. He grabbed the longer thigh bone with both hands and threw it into the air. The calf bone stuck to the thigh bone and spun around a few times without being thrown out. Afterwards, he tried a few more times. The powerful force even caused the calf bone to spin rapidly. He even poured transcendence energy into it, but the calf bone just wouldn't fall off the thigh bone. It must be known that the force of Lu Kuan's throw was at least tens of thousands of kilograms. Not only did the calf bone not fall off, it even spun smoothly at the joint point. From this, one could see how terrifying this design was. Lu Kuan saw this scene, but he wasn't happy. He said gloomily, "Senior Brother Qin, this groove is indeed exquisitely designed. It should be the masterpiece of our Yang clan seniors." Chapter 341. Qin Yushu laughed and said, "Junior martial brother, you can use your transcendence energy to separate them. Didn't you control the silver dragon flying ship many times? Don't tell me you don't know how to control it." Lu Kuan murmured, "The silver dragon flying ship is controlled by a control panel, and the control panel is connected to another type of silver metal. As he spoke, Lu Kuan looked at the broken flying ship next to him. His eyes flashed with a golden light. That's right, this silver metal is wrapped around the joint of the two iron pillars. That core formation cultivator broke this metal and destroyed the flying ship. Qin Yushu revealed a somewhat profound expression and said, "Junior Martial Brother, this silver metal is also refined from a type of heavenly material called silver essence. However, it is far inferior to the silver dragon meteoric iron. The seniors in the sect have carved a pseudo-magic treasure formation on it, in addition to the other formations designed by the seniors. Only Foundation establishment cultivators like us can use this medium to control the silver dragon flying ship's transformation and flight." Lu Kuan suddenly understood something. He revealed a joyful expression and said, "I understand now. Using the black or on the matchless rod, they refined on the two ends of the silver dragon iron pillars and carved a pseudo-magic treasure formation on it. With this, they can indirectly activate the power of the silver dragon iron pillars." Qin Yushu said, "Yes, these silver dragon iron pillars have all been refined by the sect. They can even be used as the main material for magic treasures. Although they couldn't completely refine them into puppet bones, they still successfully carved a transformation formation, a flight formation, and an attack formation on it. However, the silver essence can't activate too much of its attack power. It can only barely achieve the power of a shuttle formation." Lu Kuan said excitedly, "Besides the pseudo-magic treasure formation, I can also carve other auxiliary formations on the mysterious, or this way, it can also increase the power of the physical body. Moreover, I can control the separation of the two silver dragon iron pillars and even control their size. As long as I have two iron pillars, I can transform them into several different weapon forms to deal with all kinds of combat situations. My strength will greatly increase. However, does this pair of thunder hammers still need to be modified?" Qin Yushu pointed to the silver balls on the ground and said, "Junior Martial Brother, these balls also have grooves. Previously, Junior Martial Brother used flying daggers as long-range weapons. But this way, they can't display of Junior Martial Brother's powerful strength. I understand what Senior Martial Brother means. If these iron balls made from silver dragon meteoric iron and are wrapped with the refined thunder hammers, they will become pseudo-magic treasure thunderballs under the activation of magic power. When I throw it with brute force, the power it exerts is more than twice as strong as when the flying dagger is in a form that doesn't exert any force. Thunder hammers. Thunder hammers, thunder hammers hammers. Thunder hammers hammers, thunder hammers, iron thunder hammer airs, thunder hammers, his use thunder. Lu Kuan concluded, "Therefore, the pseudo-magic treasure suitable for my body cultivation is composed of two silver dragon iron pillars and two silver dragon iron balls. The auxiliary materials are the mysterious black, or on the matchless rod, and the refined thunder hammers. These can be 4 pseudo-magic treasures. Under the grooves, they can be 2 pseudo-magic treasures, or even 1 pseudo-magic treasure." That day, Lu Kuan and the others discussed for a day and a night before they finalized the refining process. At this time, in the third ring cave of the Abyss Island, Lu Kuan recalled the discussion that day and night and said, "Xiao Jin, although Senior Martial Brother Qin and I have already thought about the refining process of the pseudo-magic treasure, but we are still not sure if the black or can withstand the formation of the pseudo-magic treasure. We can help you refine 2 pseudo-magic treasure long rods. Let's see if it works." Although the black or was mysterious, Lu Kuan was able to melt it into the matchless rod when he was in the chi refinement stage. This was also something that he and Qin Yushu were a little worried about, because no matter how poor a treasure was, it was not something that a chi refinement stage cultivator could refine. Ignoring Xiao Jin's protest, Lu Kuan took out a red sledgehammer. It was the level 3 spiritual immortal treasure that he had obtained from the Yi family. Then, he walked to the smelting furnace. At this time, there was a huge iron felt beside the smelting furnace. This was refined by them by mixing thick iron. It was much stronger than the one used by the Yang clan. Senior Martial Brother Qin, cooperate as usual. Okay. Lu Kuan summoned the matchless rod and placed it on the iron felt. At the same time, he formed a spell and activated the power of the smelting furnace to heat up the iron felt. Qin Yushu walked to the iron felt and activated the spiritual power in his body. He used the foundation establishment primordial fire. A pale blue flame fell on the unparalleled staff. Just like Lu Kuan's lightning elemental mana, Qin Yushu's mana primordial fire increased in power following the change in the nature of the mana in his body. The color of the primordial fire also turned pale green. Lu Kuan also activated the pale purple primordial fire, which wrapped around the red sledgehammer. The muscles on his arms bulged as he hammered down. Bang! The purple and green flames intertwined, splashing out bright sparks. Bang! Bang! After just a few hits, the matchless rod began to change shape and melt. Under the power of the two different attributes of the foundation establishment primordial fire and the earthly fire, as well as Lu Kuan's brute strength, this spiritual immortal treasure quickly softened. This was the result of Lu Kuan and Qin Yushu refining a large number of spiritual immortal treasures a few days ago. The combination of the two was extremely efficient. Otherwise, they would not have been able to refine dozens of immortal treasures in a mere 10 days. Very quickly, the matchless rod was separated from the various materials under the precise control of the two master blacksmiths. Gradually, a softened black material appeared on the iron felt. Xiao Jin, go and pick 2 silver iron pillars that you like. Don't worry that you can't hold these bowl-sized iron pillars. If the material is suitable, we can fix the thickness and size again. Creak, creak. Following which, Xiao Jin picked left and right. Carrying 2 2-chi-tall iron pillars, he walked over and placed them at Lu Kuan's feet. Lu Kuan's eyes shone with a golden light. He said in a low voice, "Senior brother, let's take a quarter and refine one." Following which, Qin Yushu summoned the 5-feathered universe saber. The 5 flying daggers instantly merged into one. A green light flashed, and a small portion of the softened black material was cut out. Lu Kuan hooked his leg, and the iron pillar on the ground was lifted onto the iron felt. At the same time, the two brothers unleashed their spiritual senses, which were comparable to the foundation establishment late stage, on this small portion of the black material. Bang! Lu Kuan continued hammering on it. Luckily, he had great control over his physical body. That was why he could use his spiritual sense while hammering accurately. In a short while, one end of the silver dragon iron pillar was wrapped in the black material. Next, it was time to carve the pseudo-dharma treasure spirit design. This was also the most crucial part. First of all, it was a test for Lu Kuan and Qin Yushu to see if they could really carve out a pseudo-magic treasure array with their combined strength. Secondly, it was a test to see if this black material was a natural treasure. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.